You're listening to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream, pre-stream. Congratulations, we're about a minute out from launch. So thanks for coming in a little early, everybody. Big old congratulations to I Fight Sin with the first comment of the day over on Twitch. Word up, homies. And word up, homie, to you. I Fight Sin. Thanks for being here, everybody. Remember, as usual, I want to say you must follow us on multiple platforms. That's youtube.com/Canary Cry Radio, twitch.com/Canary Cry Radio. Of course, we're over on the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel as well. And I do want to urge you again to follow Canary Cry News Talk on your podcast player, whatever that is you choose. That's one thing about podcasts and RSS feed is they cannot be censored. So that's the way to go. Okay, everybody, as usual, stay hydrated and buckle in, because here we go.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is January 18th, 2021. This is episode 288, and today, capture the false flag. And you know me, I'm not leaving googly eyes all around the country, but I am your best buddy, Basil.
This is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the chaos and egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. I got the calendar.
Oh,
I have it here.
Great.
In my hand. You
Wow.
can hear it.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
It's so shiny.
Oh, it's nice and big, too.
It is. Well, it's a calendar. It's not going to be a mini. And
Okay.
there I am with a unicorn head. Actually, it's I think it's supposed to be a birthday
I
thing.
think so, too.
And is that a pizza? No, it's a big cookie.
Oh, a Pazuki.
Pazuki.
Nice.
So yeah,
I like on the front of the calendar, it says, what does it say? Compliment Gonz calendar.
Yes. Yeah, I told the wife, and she said, "Oh, yeah, cool."
Well, it could have been worse, I guess.
It could have been way worse. Yeah, I suppose. Well,
that is so cool. Well, I'm excited for you to pop it in the mail and send it on up here to the bunker.
Yep.
And I don't know, I did not get an update from producer Isaac, but I'm sure stock is running low. So if you're interested, folks, to get the Canary Cry Calendar 2021, go check it out. And I promise one of these days I'll get good at remembering what year it is.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we made it through another weekend. That weekend really flew by for me. I don't know about you.
It was a sluggish kind of weekend, but there's so much happening on the news. I was trying to stay off the phone, but kind of hard sometimes. Yeah, right now especially with everything, the big week coming up and the declassification, and there's a whole lot going on. So
yeah. I do want to thank everybody who has been sending me pictures. I guess, Gonz, there's the movement has begun. Googly eyes have been found all across the country, and listeners of the show are spotting them and sending us pictures. And yeah, it's about time. There you go. Here's the fact, folks. You can get googly eyes. I think it's like $1 for like a big bag of little tiny ones. It's the way. This is the way to let people know that you're woke in the good way.
This is the way.
We should get Canary Cry News Talk branded googly eyes, so that when people start posting it, it's at least people check out the show instead of just
it's a fun time.
Confused.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a fun time. Well, I kind of like the non-branded because it's like a little secret, you know. If you see them, it's a nice little secret. You know, a Canarian has been there. But yeah, they got to start sticking them on things. You know, put googly eyes on inanimate objects, and this will just let your friends and family and powers that be know that they're being watched.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we got a lot going on today. Should we just get right into it?
Let's.
Okay.
Ooh, things making noises. Oh, what is that? Oh, that's No Agenda Social making noises. I'm trying to post on a couple different social media outlets. Gab was down this morning, so that's the one thing I like Gab so far, but it's the platform just keeps going down and it's very slow. And I don't know. They're just having some issues, which is not uncommon.
And yeah, not uncommon. And especially, did we find out that Gab has their own hardware layer?
They have their own servers, I think. They cloned Mastodon, which is what No Agenda Social is on. And there have been a couple people who have said that we should have our own Mastodon server. And
I think that's true.
Yeah, we
might need a producer to help us out with that. So
yeah.
Somebody out there knows what they're doing with Mastodon or wants to learn, let us know. You can email us now at canarycryradio@protonmail.com.
We're so hip.
We finally did it. We do have a Proton Mail for those who are concerned with our Gmail account. The Gmail account will still work. Now, here's the thing. This actually all fits into a wonderful thing I wanted to mention. Just in general, as I don't know, just as a good thing to keep in mind in this time where there's a lot more attention being put on privacy and whether it's encrypted messaging apps or finding a good social media place that will survive and that doesn't sell all your information. If you're starting to get a little bit more serious about not being so hooked into the tentacles of big tech and surveillance and things like that, there's really something you want to keep in mind. And that is that it will be inconvenient.
Right.
And that's the point. A lot of people have been switching over to Signal, and then of course a lot of Signal people are seeing the writing on the wall.
Yeah, that's weird how that happens. We're like one step behind or ahead, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah,
we've been using Signal for a couple of years, right?
About
at least
4 years, I think.
And so now everyone's like, "Oh, Signal," and we're like, "Time to get out."
Yeah, and it's funny because while everybody's jumping on Signal, I'm seeing, a lot of Twitter posts like, "Oh, the user interface is so lame on Signal. Oh, it doesn't have all these features. Oh, I can't use my facial recognition to have a talking cartoon and send that to my friends." It's like, yeah, that's the whole point. And keep that in mind as you keep moving forward. And to mention, those on Signal are switching over to apps like Session, which is decentralized. It's kind of a blockchain-based messaging system, but they refuse to use the buzzword blockchain.
Yeah, which
I respect them for that. But so in this journey, as you're starting to break away from the monolithic, grasping tentacles of a big tech establishment and surveillance, things are going to be a little less convenient. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. You're going to lose some of the fun and flirty features of things like Facebook Messenger and things like that. But that's a good thing. It's supposed to be that way, because when it's a little bit more inconvenient, not only does that mean that you're not seamlessly integrated into the panopticon, but it also slows down your obsession with things. If things are too easy and too fun, that's what keeps you glued to your phone and not paying attention to the world around you. And it's also just a great sort of psychological practice in not relying on your phone and these services to keep you entertained 100% of the day. So just a little bit of a word of encouragement to those who are either just getting into their journey of disconnecting from the panopticon, or if you're, taking further steps to do so. It'll be worth it. Trust me. If things are too easy, you're in trouble. So, okay. Anything to add to that, Gons?
No, other than my daughter coming in, and I missed your whole little rant. So hopefully it makes sense.
That's okay. You already know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Maverick Pilgrim on YouTube is saying we need a Canary Cry Radio Linux distro. Ooh. That would be fun. Again, we're going to need producers to help us out with that. And you can email us at canarycryradio@protonmail.com. Okay, time for a Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okie dokie, folks. For those who are new to the show, let me just let you know, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and, no joke, flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a proxy conversation to explore how robots and artificial intelligence are taking over the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. I'm going to grab this very fun Flippy update from TechCrunch.com. And the headline is Uber planning to spin out Postmates' delivery robot arm. That's right. Flippy is going mobile, baby. Another Uber spin-out is in the works. Postmates X, the robotics division of the on-demand delivery startup that Uber acquired last year for $2.65 billion, is seeking investors in its bid to become a separate company, according to several people familiar with the plan. The startup is being referred to as Serve Robotics, a nod to the yellow and black emblazoned autonomous sidewalk delivery bot that was developed and piloted by Postmates X. The Serve robot, which recently partnered with Pink Dot stores for deliveries in West Hollywood, will likely be the centerpiece of the new startup. Uber declined to comment. I'm going to skip down because they talk about just a bunch of financial stuff. This is sort of a paid advertisement to try to get investments, which...
Carry the show for like 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
I got this, bro.
All right.
So I'm jumping down here to Serve the Friendly Robot. Postmates' exploration into sidewalk delivery bots began in earnest in 2017 after the company quietly acquired Kashani's startup Locks Inc. As head of Postmates X, the company's R&D arm, Kashani set out to answer the question. Here's the question. Why move 2-pound burritos with 2-ton cars? Very good question. Postmates revealed its first Serve autonomous delivery bot in December 2018, a second generation with an identical design but different LiDAR sensors and few other upgrades. Emerged in summer 2019 ahead of its planned commercial launch in Los Angeles. Instead of working with a partner, Postmates used its own delivery data to form the foundation of how it would design and deploy the sidewalk bot, according to comments Kashani made during a TechCrunch Sessions Mobility 2020 event in October. Quote, when you look at the data and see that over half of deliveries are within a short distance, it becomes a no-brainer. These robots can actually complete them, Kashani said at the time in reference to the application of autonomous delivery bots for delivery. The Postmates X used historical delivery data from the company to develop a simulation, which was then used in the design of the ServeBot. It helped the team determine what battery life would be needed and the size of the cargo hold. The bot only represented a sliver of Postmates' delivery business. However, the company has seen an increased interest in the bot in Los Angeles and San Francisco, the two cities where it commercially operates, as COVID-19 fueled demand for contactless delivery. Kashani noted back in October that the bots had completed thousands of deliveries in Los Angeles and was preparing to expand into the city's West Hollywood enclave. That expansion launched late last year with a twist. The Serve robots were changed to a bright pink to match the signature color of the Pink Dot stores. So there you go, folks. Flippy has wheels and is gonna bring your burrito. They make a good point about why do you need a 2-ton car to deliver a 2-pound burrito. However, this continues on the theme of Flippy stealing our jobs, as I've mentioned before. Delivery services, whether working for Uber Eats, or Postmates or whatever, has been a last. Well, I wouldn't say it was a last option, but it's been a good option for those who have had their careers and working arrangements impacted too much by the pandemic. But now, that's the thing with big tech. They don't want to actually help humans. So unfortunately, the delivery driver option is going to be slowly phased out by the robot overlords and replaced by these cute little guys. The fun thing about this particular delivery robot is that it's got 2 big googly eyes on the front. And so they're kind of, I don't like how they're encroaching in on my brand, but, what are you going to do?
Excellent. Thanks for holding up while I was gone there.
Oh man,
sounds like you were just ranting.
Look at me, just talking.
Talking.
That was a important string of information, especially for those who, I think the rebellion against robots will be led by ex-delivery people.
Yeah, my oldest daughter was doing some work with Postmates, and I told her, you're going to have to figure something else out, because California specifically is the first state, I think, to allow, I think we reported it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, well, it was Pennsylvania who gave personhood pedestrian rights to robot,
right?
But California is not far behind.
Well, California gave, I think, it allowed some kind of mobile autonomous car to start doing food delivery.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't announce which company. I was wondering if this was the company, if Uber.
They were keeping it secret. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't think it was Uber. It sounded like some weird little spin-off company. But a way that works a lot of times is to protect from liability, and especially in big new experimental projects like that. It'll just be like a subsidiary of Uber, but they don't have to call it Uber, because if there's some sort of fiery car crash, they don't want their name attached to that.
Yeah. I don't think they mentioned the name. The article a few weeks ago. But are you ready to get into some stuff here?
Yep, we got a lot of politics to talk.
Okay, but before we do, just remember,
Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
Oh, yeah. Remember, thank you very much, Guns, for the reminder. If you're watching on YouTube or any other platform, take a moment to hit the heart button and subscribe, and hit the turn on notifications with that little bell button. It helps us a lot with the algorithms to help share the show. If we do it early on in the show, you can always take your like back if you don't like it later.
Yep. So let's talk some politique.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Many bloodsuckers.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk about declassified documents, the Obamagate declass, and there's been some documents being shared around that suggests that, basically said that Obama funded Al-Qaeda and stuff like that. But there's no mainstream outlet, not surprisingly, covering this story, at least not yet. And my opinion, I don't think they're going to really cover it till, later. It's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks, and it'll be something that, exposes Trump. Declassified documents shows Trump's, dealing with North Korea wasn't as good, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But we went looking for some stuff, and I found a couple things here. The first one is from patriotpost.us. So certainly not mainstream media.
Right.
It's America's news digest, Pro Deo et Libertate, 1776.
Smooth.
Yeah, sorry. Declassified docs shed light on real collusion. When it comes to bringing leftist crooks to justice, it seems like Charlie Brown is a Republican, the football is a Democrat, and Lucy is Lady Justice. Whoa, guy.
Yeah.
Awesome writing. And depending on the outcome of the special counsel John Durham's criminal investigation, justice may never be served to the Obama-era Spygate co-conspirators. Not surprising. But at least we now have the satisfaction of knowing that it's true that Barack Obama and his intelligence services did willfully spy on candidate Donald Trump and later on his presidential administration. As John Solomon reports, quote, delivering in his final days on one of his last unfulfilled promises, President Trump is declassifying a massive trove of FBI documents showing the Russia collusion story was leaked in the final weeks of the 2016 election. In an effort to counteract Hillary Clinton's email scandal, the president authorized the release of a foot-high stack of internal FBI and DOJ documents that detail significant flaws in the investigation and provide a detailed timeline of when the FBI first realized the Steele dossier was problematic. And that's what I was hearing a lot of, a foot-high stack of documents being declassified.
Doesn't seem tall enough.
No, it really doesn't. A foot's not, it's probably, 5,000-6,000 pages?
Well, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I get more than a foot-high stack of junk mail every day. It's really should be bigger.
The document, Solomon continues, also will settle a long-debated question in Washington about whether the FBI's tactics amounted to spying on the Trump campaign, tasking instructions the FBI gave to Stephen Halper, an academic who long worked as an FBI informant, make clear he is instructed to infiltrate the Trump campaign by posing as someone who wanted to work for the GOP nominee and then targeting campaign advisors to find out what they knew about Trump or his campaign's ties to Russia. So,
okay.
It goes on and it reiterates some of the points that have been out there. And if you're deep into the politics, the theater of politics, you will, you would be familiar with, especially if you're a conservative and right wing and that kind of thing. But again, difficult to find, actual. Other than I guess there's some Senate.gov documents that have come out and stuff, but
not exactly what they made it sound like. John Solomon was kind of one of the bigger mainstream guys saying that this is gonna be, we're gonna have it either tomorrow. This was on Thursday. He mentioned this, or no later than Monday. And here we are Monday, waiting for the big
reveal
stack of docs. And I'm over here on John Solomon's Twitter. Because, if he's the one who made a lot of these promises in the mainstream, and nothing so far.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. And the stuff that I have seen, most of it's some sort of screenshot, or it's sort of, peripherally connected with Obamagate, but not, nothing so blatant that's been available yet.
Well, I think I sent you... on Sessions, I sent you the finance.senate.gov document, and it was a memo World Vision investigation. But that was more about Obama's dealings. I thought it was more about his dealings in.
It was more like funding Al Qaeda stuff.
Yeah, funding Al Qaeda, which again we knew about. It wasn't anything that's too
not
crazy.
What we're looking for. We're looking for Obamagate.
The other article that I found, the DCPatriot.com, and this article is titled Declassified Documents Confirm More Bombshell Revelations About the Steele Dossier. Are they spinning a little bit? I mean, there's some, at least they have some screenshots in this one.
Okay.
And it says the first batch of documents that President Trump ordered to be classified is it declassified? Is already giving us a deeper dive into how corrupt the swamp really is. According to transcripts, the FBI knew that Christopher Steele's dossier was, quote, all political in the summer of 2016, yet they still pursued Trump anyway. The infamous Steele dossier was a document used by James Comey's FBI to obtain a FISA warrant in order to spy on President Trump and his campaign. And it shows, let me read this. Steele reporting, quote, it was completely obvious that this information intended to be used by one of the parties against the other, Twitter user Technofog pointed out. So real credible stuff. They're nothing against Technofog, but we're trying to find some like hard sources. The transcript, again, there's a screenshot here where the questioner asks, but was definitely political in your mind, and the answer, without a doubt, not even a question. And so, I mean, there you go. I don't know that this is like smoking gun.
Yeah, not quite as big of a bombshell as people were hoping, but who knows? It's still early on Monday.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
we did get a message from Sarah Khanna over on YouTube who says, I see Canary Cry has been demonetized on DLive. Were we ever monetized on DLive?
I think in theory we were monetized because we were just on the platform. We were supposed to be able to earn some tokens or whatever, but I never really engaged in that a whole lot. So yeah, nothing surprising that
That's why we're on the value for value model, folks, because you cannot rely on any sort of monetization from some big platform that is swayed. What?
Speaking of deplatformed, I was kicked off of Uphold, which
what's Uphold?
So the Brave browser, right? Have you guys heard about the Brave browser? Created by the guy who co-created Firefox and the guy who created JavaScript. The thing that was supposed to be revolutionary about Brave was that you can, instead of giving up all your data to any kind of third party, it would censor a lot of the ads and tracking and all that kind of stuff. And you would earn BAT tokens or basic attention tokens for your attention. So if you watch an ad, you're basically getting paid to sit there and watch it and stuff like that. So, and then the other thing was if you're a content creator.
The way that it should be, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
We should be getting paid to watch advertisements, not have to pay to watch them.
Right. Which is the worst thing when you have like a third party platform, a Netflix or a Hulu or whatever it is. YouTube TV is the worst, I think, when it comes to this. But you pay for it, and then you sit there and you watch ads, and you're like, I paid for stuff. Why should I? If you're a content creator, you can earn from publishing your content, and you can earn in BAT token. The problem is, in order to cash out, not even cash out, to get a hold of your earned BAT token, you have to go through this company called Uphold. And Uphold is this centralized place that it's kind of like, it's not exactly a bank. They're trying to be kind of a on-off ramp to crypto.
Sure.
And all kinds of different stuff. By the way, they're like super sold out. They have this thing called like the carbon coin or something. But anyway, so they're supposed to be like this, new frontier of banking and all this kind of stuff, digital wallets and all that. But alas, I was kicked off, and they told me based on information, but they wouldn't tell me what the information was. And I have some crypto on there, so I don't know what I sent in a support ticket, and I'm waiting for them to respond and let me know how I can get my money off of Uphold.
Reminds me of Mary Poppins. And the little boy wants his money from the bank and causes a hubbub.
Yeah. Causes
a run on the bank. Give me my money.
Yeah, this theme will come up again after the break. We have a whole money section and why truly decentralized money like Bitcoin is what it is. If it was Bitcoin and I had my private keys, this wouldn't be an issue. But there's a lot of different companies stepping in now trying to capitalize on the trend. And unfortunately, they are compromised.
Do it the inconvenient way. The convenient way is this decentralized businesses trying to get in between you and your money. But let's keep moving. I got this another little politics update from theguardian.com. The headline is Trump to issue more than 100 pardons before Biden's sworn in. Reports. Donald Trump is expected to issue more than 100 presidential pardons on Tuesday during his final hours in the White House, but may not pardon himself or his immediate family. It was reported on Monday. And this was hilarious because, you watch some mainstream liberal news and, man, they love talking about how he's going to pardon himself. He's a crazy dictator. He's going to pardon himself and his family. But not so far. We'll see. White House officials say Trump has privately debated with aides whether he should take the extraordinary step of pardoning himself. Some administration insiders have reportedly warned against it, arguing that it would make Trump look guilty. On Sunday, Trump met his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, daughter Ivanka Trump, and senior advisors to thrash out a lengthy list of pardon requests, the Washington Post reported. The meeting took up much of the day. The president was personally engaged with the details of every case, it said. Oh, wow, he's putting in the work. Some scholars believe a self-pardon would go against the U.S. Constitution since it violates the basic principle that nobody should be able to judge their own case, but the issue has never been tested.
If anyone's going to do it, it's Trump.
Yeah, even just because he can.
It just sounds like Trump,
Just, or at least that's what they'd have us believe. Yeah. The White House discussions took place against the backdrop of a looming Senate impeachment trial after the storming on 6 January by a pro-Trump. Yes, the storm. Mob of the U.S. Capitol building. If convicted, Trump could be disqualified from running again for the presidency in 2024. Oh, by the way, I would like to issue a correction. This just reminds me. I just kind of laid out the impeachment thing a couple of episodes ago. And just to correct maybe what I misconstrued on that episode. So impeachment is one thing, and the House does the impeachment, and then the Senate convicts the impeachment. So he was technically impeached that first time, but was not convicted. And so then he did get impeached a second time, but nothing really happens unless he gets convicted. So there you go. I wonder if he can pardon himself out of his
maybe
Senate
just out of the
conviction.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Continuing on. Out of office, Trump will also be vulnerable to prosecution from federal and state authorities over his actions in office and regarding his business empire. It is not clear whether Trump will act to pardon members of his inner circle, including Steve Bannon, who has been charged with defrauding individuals who donated to a wall project on the U.S.-Mexico border. Another possible name is Rudy Giuliani, Trump's longtime personal lawyer, who led attempts to overturn the result of November's election. What does he need to be pardoned for? I mean, I know people don't like him, but is it a criminal offense to
I don't know. I feel like
faith try to challenge election results. I feel like that's whether you like that idea or not. I'm not sure if it's illegal.
I don't think it's illegal, at least as far as I'm concerned. And all I've seen is a lot of lefty liberal types just project that Rudy is guilty and a criminal and all this kind of stuff. So I haven't seen any specifics either. So I don't know.
What crime is, anyways. Trump and Giuliani are said to have fallen out over unpaid legal bills. CNN reported on Monday that the final batch of clemency actions was expected to feature criminal justice reform-minded pardons, as well as more controversial ones for allies and friends. Okay, well, that's cool. Lobbyists have been pushing for months to include their clients on Trump's valedictory list. Quote, everything is a transaction. He likes pardons because it is unilateral, and he likes doing favors for people he thinks will owe him. One source familiar with the matter told CNN, adding that Trump wanted to help people. Again, no need to name any sources. You can just say whatever. Adding that Trump Trump wanted to help people who could in turn help him in his post-White House career. Dr. Solomon Melgen, a prominent eye doctor from Palm Beach who is in prison after being convicted on dozens of counts of healthcare fraud, is expected to be on the clemency list, CNN. This was an interesting little turn. They say, oh, he's going to do favors for people who can help him after he's done. And they're like, oh, this eye doctor is going to get pardoned. How is this eye doctor going to help Trump afterwards? Maybe he needs some LASIK or something. Presidential pardons do not imply innocence, a fact President Gerald Ford clung to in the face of lasting opprobrium for his pardon of Richard Nixon, his predecessor who resigned in disgrace in 1974 over the Watergate scandal. Last-ditch pardons and acts of clemency are common, blah, blah, blah. Then they just kind of talk about what pardons are. So there you go. We'll see. Hundreds of more than 100. Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I'm seeing a lot on social media regarding these pardons is if Trump really wants to make a stamp in his presidency, his last stand, he should pardon Snowden and Assange.
Yeah, well, that's the big question, isn't it? Are they included on that list?
I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll find out tomorrow. But
it'll be pretty whack if he doesn't, because I think if it weren't for WikiLeaks and Assange, who knows? But the election may have gone a little different. Seeing as Assange and WikiLeaks were the ones that released the Hillary Clinton emails, and in return, that's what caused the fake Steele dossier and the Russiagate scandal.
Right.
Specifically for Hillary to cover over her email scandal. So I don't know. I think Assange is going to be pretty disappointed if he doesn't get that pardon.
Yeah. One of the things I asked on Twitter on a poll this morning, what do you generally think of Snowden, Assange? And the options were genuine whistleblowers. Another option was controlled opposition or other. So far, 51% have said controlled opposition, 39% genuine whistleblowers. And I know it's a different thing. Snowden and Assange are two different situations.
Yeah.
But that's why I said generally.
Yeah.
But, that is interesting when you think about this revelation of the method, revealing things is as part of the divide and conquer methodology. You need to spin up a movement to create momentum for another arm or another political arm. And WikiLeaks did that very well. I don't know about Snowden. I mean, he kind of just like opened the door to all that stuff. But in terms of like a political movement, Assange is way more responsible, I feel, to the right-wing conservative rise of the reformed Republican Party in 2016 and all that. It was very much hinged on Assange and WikiLeaks. So we'll see. We'll have to see. I'm with you. I think it would be very surprising if Assange isn't pardoned. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if if Trump just leaves him off the list, because he technically doesn't owe him much other. I mean, the WikiLeaks stuff, but it's still, even for like the mainstream view of what's going on between Republican and Democrat, he doesn't have to owe him anything. You know what I mean? It's not right.
And indeed, that might actually look worse if it looks like a
then it looks like it looks like a collusion thing, and So who knows what'll go down, but.
And Snowden being in a totally different situation, having blown the whistle on NSA spying being his main thing.
Right.
Totally. I mean, Snowden is more of a whistleblower for the people, and I think Assange is also that in a lot of ways. But pardoning him specifically for the what is it? See, here's the weird thing. I think Assange. What are his exact charges? I know they finally actually imprisoned him or got him because of some sex charge in Sweden or Switzerland or something, right?
Yeah, so he was indicted in 2019 on 17 counts of violating the Espionage Act.
Okay, so they did get him for that.
Yeah, and conspiring to hack government computers in 2010 and 2011. and
okay.
faces 175 years in prison.
Woo!
You know, that would be one way to test the life extension technologies out there. Just like keep prisoners alive on your tax dollars.
In the transhuman future, you could actually live out a 175-year sentence.
Oh, Revelation 9, they will seek death and not find it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. All right, let's keep moving.
Yeah, one of the big things, other than all the surrounding stuff politically, is D.C. itself. There's a 30-second clip of what went down in D.C. this morning. Some alarms going off. You see some smoke coming out of the Capitol building. And there's a narrator for a moment, and then you hear some...
Everyone's running from the Capitol grounds.
Which is... Yeah, there's some people walking, not running, but... It's hard to hear, but there's some evacuation messaging.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. So, of course, that makes everybody... jump off their seat and start looking at their screens.
Everybody's already on edge.
On edge, yeah. It's all happening. It's starting.
So what was it? Do we know what it was?
According to the New York Daily News, they published an article this morning. Biden inaugural rehearsal evacuated amid fire near U.S. Capitol. And it said participants at a rehearsal for President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration were evacuated from the west front of the U.S. Capitol on Monday after a fire broke out near the building, according to officials. With tension still high in the wake of the January 6th pro-Trump attack on the Capitol. Pro-Trump attack.
Pro-Trump.
Security officers rapidly whisked away the participants, including members of a military band, and a plume of smoke was seen shooting up in the air a few blocks away around 10:30 a.m., but the blaze apparently wasn't connected to the inaugural preparations, and the Washington, D.C. Fire Department said no injuries were reported.
Somebody, S. Hagley on the chat says propane tank blew near homeless shelter. Is there a homeless shelter that close to the U.S. Capitol?
I don't know, but that would
be
interesting. Law enforcement officials said the fire likely started in a homeless encampment under a highway overpass about 5 blocks from the Capitol. So yes, there is a homeless encampment that close to the Capitol. That makes everything that happens in Washington worse, doesn't it? Like just optically.
Well, I've never been to Washington, D.C., but people who I know who have been there are just blown away by the juxtaposition between from what I'm told, truly horrible living conditions for many of DC's residents versus, next to the, as they like to call it, the sacred temple of democracy.
Right. The U.S. Secret Service, which is leading security operations for Biden's Wednesday inauguration, said it ordered the fire-related evacuation, quote, out of an abundance of caution.
Yeah.
And that people on the Capitol, this is like more fear. It seems, I don't know, even if it's not directly related, the optics of this is just, it feeds into both narratives, interestingly, because the right wing, not necessarily QAnon, but like the Q type folk, conservative folk will be like, here we go. This is it. They're, setting up something and people, the Democrats are acting up or whatever it is. Or, calling out the false flag idea that, oh, here we go. Somebody's starting a fire, starting a ruckus around the Capitol building, and they're going to blame this on, like the right wing thinking that it's going to be some kind of setup for conservative or Christian nationalist or whatever, and then the left believing that and pushing that out there, like, oh, crazy Boogaloo boy wanted to blow up the Capitol building or somewhere near, and da-da-da-da-da. So, interesting. It could be completely unrelated. It can be related. I don't know. I'm not there. But
the mainstream storyline, at least right now, is that it's not related.
Yeah. Which makes you think maybe it is.
I know. Well, that makes you question everything, doesn't it?
Cover it up.
So just moving on, if we're good to go.
Yep.
We've been seeing a buildup ever since January 6th or 7th of National Guard troops in D.C. But here we go from Vox.com. Up to 25,000 National Guard troops are headed to D.C. It's unclear why so many are needed. And it's a great question. The Pentagon has authorized up to 25,000 National Guard members to help secure Washington, D.C. for President-elect Joe Biden's Inauguration Day. This is a piece of language that I want to point out because a lot of tweets and other outlets are stating that there are 25 National Guard members in D.C., but this puts it in a little bit of a different way, which is the Pentagon has authorized up to 25,000 National Guard members to help secure Washington, D.C. So, I don't know, a little different than there are 25,000 present at the time. But we'll see how that goes. That's in addition to the thousands of U.S. Secret Service, Capitol Police, and D.C. Police that will be out in force for the event. That's a massive security presence. For comparison, that's about half the entire number of the U.S. troops currently stationed in Japan. President Barack Obama's surge, they put surge in quotes for some reason, of additional U.S. troops to Afghanistan in late 2009 consisted of 30,000 troops. And so far, nobody from the U.S. Secret Service to the FBI to the National Guard itself has provided a clear reason for why such a huge force is necessary to secure the nation's capital. At a press conference on Friday, Matt Miller, agent in charge of the Secret Service's Washington field office, told reporters, quote, "We cannot allow a recurrence of the kind of violence seen at the U.S. Capitol insurrection last week. Yet no one I spoke with on Friday could explain why 25,000 National Guard troops were needed to prevent such a recurrence. The National Guard sent me to the Secret Service. Secret Service spokesperson Justine Wellen said the force doesn't comment on, quote, means and methods. When I followed up about wanting to know about the threat, not means and methods, not means or methods, she said, quote, I consider the way in which operational decisions are considered and made in consultation with our partners to be a method. The FBI directed me to comments made by FBI Director Christopher Wray in a briefing with Vice President Mike Pence on Thursday, in which Wray said, quote, we are seeing an extensive amount of concerning online chatter. That's the best way I could describe it, about a number of events surrounding the inauguration. That's interesting because most of the online chatter is a bunch of fake flyers to try to incite Second Amendment people to go bring their guns, and then a bunch of conservative commentators and talking heads and things saying, it's a trap, don't do it.
It's a trap. Like Star Wars.
We'll see. Yeah, Star Wars. The office of Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser and the city's police department didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. However, the mayor on Friday said that at same press conference where Miller spoke, quote, clearly we are in uncharted waters. Right now, here we go. Roughly 7,000 National Guard members surround the Capitol behind a sprawling, unscalable fence alongside federal law enforcement like the Secret Service, which is in charge of security on Inauguration Day, and local forces like Washington's police. Together, they have set up a wide perimeter around the Capitol and the National Mall, making it nearly impossible for any unauthorized vehicle or person to get within blocks of the main building. There's been stories floating around, and they had a map. Somebody put a map together of all the checkpoints and the road closures and the fences and barricades and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it is extensive around the Capitol building, as well as the road to the White House from the Capitol building. Yeah. I didn't bring the story, but I'm not sure if you saw it. There have been several attempts of people trying to get in through the area. One of them was a woman in their 60s, rolled up to a checkpoint, presented a military challenge coin, and was claiming to be part of law enforcement and on, I think, Trump's cabinet or Biden's cabinet, one of them. And they didn't buy it. The challenge coin did not get her into the thing.
It wasn't the right coin.
she
she
tried
got
to
arrested.
drive off. Yeah, she got busted.
Yeah, I have it here
So-
in case anyone's
Oh,
wondering.
do you?
Yeah, it's
Good,
a
yeah.
woman
But look, we
arrested.
can't overstate it. Security near the
Okay, woman arrested
Yeah.
at inauguration checkpoint said she was officer, cabinet member, police.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so I don't know what she was trying to do, but they weren't buying it. So there you go. I mean, those are the main points there. I don't know if there's anything else.
Well, the thing that's interesting, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about how there's been a lot of jokes about how Trump, he wanted a wall between here and Mexico, and everybody on the left were like, walls don't do nothing, they divide, and all this kind of stuff. And now they're putting up these giant fences with barbed wire and stuff all around. But also some jokes about how the only people that will attend the Biden inauguration are military troops that were recruited to protect him.
Yeah.
And others saying like, hey, if you need that much military to protect this guy, maybe he didn't win.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Just a lot of stuff like that, which makes sense.
It's going to look like Darth Vader being inaugurated, where it's him and he's just there getting inaugurated in front of a giant military presence.
Yeah, well, I wanted to tie this story just impromptu along with it because it's got to do with the National Guard. But I don't know if you saw this. This is Washington Times. Army Humvee stolen from California National Guard. Did you hear about this?
Ooh, no.
No? Okay, so an Army Humvee was stolen from the National Guard facility in a Los Angeles suburb late last week, according to the FBI. FBI, keep in mind, FBI. The authorities are offering $10,000 reward for its return. So I have a buddy who's part of the National Guard.
And he has a new Humvee.
He has he's got a Humvee for sale. And he said that this is the official story, quote unquote, pointing to the Washington Times. But he says that the Humvee is no deadlier than a Chevy truck. And he said, I think it's funny with all the traffic cam and large standout vehicles that they can't find it.
Yeah, that is a pretty ridiculous idea.
It's really weird. And
especially
then he said,
in California. Was this in California?
It's in California, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he said,
cameras at every stop sign, basically.
I know. It's a military Humvee. It's not like just another random car. Yeah. And he said, this is my military buddy here. He said, I was in that unit for 7 years and they had drills last week. Either they lost it and they had to CYA, you know what that means? Cover your took us.
Oh yeah, right.
Or it's inside, but it's not hard to get into that place. Apparently, most of the vehicles are in repair and dead battery with lots of dead batteries because they sit around so much.
Yeah,
and he said I find it hard to believe that they can't find it. There are 3 major traffic intersections and traffic cams didn't pick it up. Really?
Yeah.
And then I basically said, it sounds like a perfect setup for the narrative that some guy who stole a military vehicle is going to storm the Capitol for the, that kind of thing.
He's going to drive it from California to Washington, D.C. undetected while everybody's looking for this stolen Humvee.
Yeah.
And, use it to get past the barricades or something.
And he responded, not in a Hummer. Top speed is 60 miles per hour and range is 300 miles. Plus the standout and would not fit the civilian car carrier. And I told him, facts don't matter in a false flag.
That's true.
And so
that's true. Plus it would cost $3,000 in fuel to get from California to DC.
I know, but I'm just, throwing out some admittedly speculations. But I thought it was an interesting story because given all the stuff surrounding the National Guard, all the attention that they're getting, this was an interesting story to put out there. Somebody would come in and steal a Humvee. Yeah.
Well, and you never know because there's a couple more related things. One of them is from armytimes.com. After deadly Capitol riot, Army looking at which troops require security screening ahead of inauguration. So they are worried about their own National Guard people.
Well,
the Army is.
Especially because I'm just going to say that Trump had the support of the military.
And as I understand it, still does. And he is technically still the Master Chief. That's not it. What is Commander-in-Chief?
Commander-in-Chief. And there are some theories that I'll throw out there as well that I was hearing over the weekend.
Okay.
A little more on the fringes, but let's get through this story real quick, and then I'll
Just to zoom through here, the Army is working to determine which National Guard troops assisting the January 20th presidential inauguration require additional security checks, and is also offering more training on threat detection for those guardsmen arriving to Washington, D.C. in the coming days, according to the service. The measures come in the wake of the deadly January 6th Capitol riot after blah, blah, blah. We saw that. I'll read it because it mentions somebody. Representative Jason Crow, Democrat of Colorado, spoke with Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy this weekend and expressed, quote, grave concerns about reports that active duty and reserved military members were involved in the insurrection at the Capitol. Crow, an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran, said he asked McCarthy for Army Criminal Investigation Command to review the background of any troops involved in inauguration security. That's 25,000 background checks to be done by Wednesday to ensure that deployed members are not sympathetic to domestic terrorists. Wow, listen to that language. The Defense Department has authorized as many as 15,000 troops to be deployed to D.C.
This is before. This is 6 days old article. So
got it. For the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. Quote, we are working with the Secret Service to determine which service members supporting the National Special Security event for the inauguration require additional background screening, an Army spokesperson said in an emailed response to queries. Quote, the D.C. National Guard is also providing additional training to service members as they arrive in D.C. that if they see or hear something that is not appropriate, they should report it to their chain of command, aka snitch on your conservative friends.
Yep.
The threat is something the military has faced before. During this summer's unrest, an Ohio National Guard member was removed from his unit's mission to D.C. after the FBI uncovered information indicating they expressed white supremacist ideology online. The Pentagon requires all service members to take annual training on how they should identify and report suspected extremist behavior, but some of those ideologies have proven persistent in the ranks. More than 1/3 of all active duty troops and more than half of minority service members say they have personally witnessed examples of white nationalism or ideologically driven racism, according to a 2020 survey of active duty Military Times readers. You know, I also have, one particular military buddy who really made a big deal about this to me a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, just talking about like, oh yeah, it's rough. It's the talk is rough in the barracks. It's you certainly if that kind of talk was broadcasted on mainstream media, they would be canceled.
They would shut down the military for white supremacy.
Shouldn't be surprising, but no. The Army spokesperson also said the service was looking into whether any soldiers participated in the January 6th riot that breached the Capitol and left 5 people dead. This same military buddy of mine mentioned that, there's quite a few of smaller demonstrations and things at state capitals over the past week or so. And he was mentioning how a couple of service members were known to have attended those, and they are being prosecuted very, very heavily. I guess they kind of hold them to a different standard, if you're active military. Right. And yeah, some of them are facing pretty extreme federal charges just for attending these things.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's see here. January, blah, 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 blah. The Army is committed to working closely with the FBI as they identify people who have participated in the violent attack on the Capitol to determine if the individuals have connection to the Army, the spokesperson said. Any type of activity that involves violence, civil disobedience, or breach of peace may be punishable under the Uniform Code of Military Justice or under state or federal law. The FBI bulletin warned of plans for armed protests in all 50 states state capitals and D.C. in the days leading up to Biden's inauguration. The cross-country threat is something National Guard Bureau Chief General Daniel Hokanson said he and his staff are also watching. Quote, "We are keeping a look across the entire country to make sure that we're monitoring and that our guards in every state are in close coordination with their local law enforcement agencies to provide any support requested." Yada, yada, yada. I probably didn't need to read that whole thing. But yeah, very interesting. I mean, it makes sense if they are, in fact, this worried. You don't want to have a bunch of armed military men within your ranks. Kind of reminds, there's plenty of movies that include.
Well, that was going to be one of the theories here. That this was going to be that the reason why the military are coming in and surrounding the DC and locking it down and all this kind of stuff is to basically execute the reverse version of Order 66.
Execute Order 66.
Where, for those of you who don't know, in the Star Wars universe.
You're right. This is exactly Order 66.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
The Empire, they basically surrounded. Well, they didn't surround. They just. All the guys that were helping out the Jedi turned on the Jedi.
Right.
And killed all the Jedi, basically. And it's not a one-to-one analogy if you're whatever side you're on.
Yeah, it depends what side you're on.
Depends what side you're on. But the analogy here is that Biden and crew would basically be the Jedi, the good guys. It actually plays into the liberal leftist media narrative.
Right.
That they're the good guys, and then the Empire executes Order 66.
Emperor Trump will execute Order 66.
And all the military will turn on the Jedi, which are the Democrats, and arrest them all. And
that's interesting. I mean, again, it's just the questionable scale of all this. Now, the interesting thing being, and I don't know, I'm not a military expert. However, Trump being the current commander in chief is in charge of the military still. And it's, if Trump didn't want all these troops there, I think he could just make that happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think Biden is in the position where he could require all those troops being there. So it's a little interesting. I'm not sure what the current setup for chain of command is.
I think Trump is still in charge until Wednesday.
Yes. Seems like Trump would have to at least approve all these military people. Not that he would have a reason not to.
Right. Now here's the other theory that ties into some of the artwork for the episode today and stuff like that, which is that this is going to spark a war with China. And literally the Chinese military are across the Canadian border and across the Mexican border. They're all ready to invade the U.S. as soon as Biden takes the presidency. And he's basically, as soon as Biden takes over, it's handing over the government to the CCP, and the Chinese military can come occupy the U.S. And so to protect that from happening, Trump is surrounding D.C. And ironically, it would be to protect Biden's life. Trump would be doing this to protect Biden because another line of thought from the Chinese, who are gonna invade, and the other line of thinking here is that as soon as Biden takes office or is inaugurated, they're gonna perform some kind of assassination attempt on him, and it'll be it's the whole narrative of the false flag that we've been talking about, but it'll be part of the CCP takeover. Is the right wing militia, whatever Christian nationalist came in, assassinates Biden, and that'll right in time for new President Kamala Harris to come in, who is complicit with the CCP, and then we can shut down the Second Amendment because guns are bad, and look what guns did; it just killed a president, and that whole narrative. So there's a lot of different things being thrown out there.
That is quite the theory.
It is, and Mike Adams, the health ranger, he was getting a lot of play over the weekend, and he was the one that kind of outlined these possibilities, and he seemed very distraught. He was really flustered and kind of disturbed at the possibility that this is in fact, war with China de facto, like they're coming in, and this is it. Like the U.S. is going to see actual war. That they've already done biological warfare with the coronavirus, and they've already done information warfare with all the cyber attacks, and now it's the physical part of the three-pronged attack to take over a country.
That's interesting. You would think that the U.S. intelligence community would know about this.
Well, that's part of the question is, I mean, we know the FBI doesn't really have the best interest of the common citizen in mind. The CIA, the same deal. And a lot of people think that the CIA and the FBI, they're all compromised, or many of them within these organizations, at least high up, are compromised by either the CCP or, if you want to go further up, the whole New World Order infrastructure. And so in that regard, it would make sense that they wouldn't stop this from happening. They would want it to happen.
Is he mentioning, I mean, does that theory include like Chinese boots on the ground in DC?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not really sure how that would happen.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's pretty intense. And I mean, he came up with theories about these missiles, these anti-missile interceptors, kind of like how Israel has the Iron Dome, that the U.S. is getting ready to protect its various locations from missile attack and stuff. That's crazy talk right there, because just in practical terms, if they did that to the U.S., and he cites Trump's recent, I think he signed in some things about helping out people damaged from disaster and stuff like that. I can't remember the exact document, but you know how things get extrapolated and exaggerated to fit a certain narrative. And but even in a practical sense, if something like that happened to the U.S., I mean, just in this political staging between U.S. and China, don't you think that there's like some pretty heavy artillery pointed at China right now? Like in general?
Oh, yeah. No,
and if they did that to us, I mean, maybe that's the New World Order plan, the big plan. Like, okay, pop off some stuff into the U.S. and then pop off some stuff into China. We depopulate the whole deal.
Yeah.
The
thing with that is boots on the ground is such a outdated style of war.
I know.
To actually have China. Now, of course, everybody's hearkening back to the fact that allegedly there are Chinese troops in Canada doing snow training, cold weather military training. And a theory floating around that was that they're just positioning to, have boots on the ground on the North American continent.
Yes.
But I think that's a pretty slim chance there will be Chinese boots on the ground. They would have to be pretty close even now, which the Canadian theory really is the only way for that to happen.
Yeah, well, Trudeau's.
Or secret tunnels. Or teleportation.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Some super soldiers that can walk through walls. It's the Wall Street Journal that had the article, Marines prepare for rising challenge from China's military with island training. And this was from January 3rd of 2021. And the Marines are preparing for a far larger and more sophisticated adversary than extremists in the Middle East and Afghanistan, the focus of their operations in recent years. China's military satellites, cyber warfare capabilities, use of artificial intelligence, and narrowing gap with U.S. firepower make it what the Pentagon calls a near-peer rival. And
near-peer.
Near-peer. And they certainly have more men, if you want to look at it that way. They got more numbers than the U.S., but, I mean, it was part of my China segment here. But and we'll get to more China stuff. But that's those are the theories that are floating out there as to what is taking place here surrounding D.C.
Yeah, very interesting theories. And just to tag onto that, just because it's connected. Oh my gosh, did I lose it? I had it up. Here we go.
Is this the Fox News?
No, this was something else. I'll do that next. But just to mention it here, American Military News Com picks U.S. Marshals deputized 2,000 troops for Biden inauguration in front of Washington Monument. And this was an interesting little detail, was a bunch of those National Guard troops got deputized as U.S. Marshals. On Sunday night, the U.S. Marshal Service deputized 2,000 National Guardsmen deployed in Washington, D.C., temporarily incorporating them into the federal law enforcement service ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration on Wednesday. Oh, gosh. Sorry, I'm fighting the show burps here. On Monday, the service tweeted, quote, Chief Lamont Ruffin from D.C. District Court swears in 2,000 National Guard troops as special deputy U.S. Marshals prior to the upcoming presidential inauguration. Ruffin is deputy chief for the U.S. Marshals in D.C. In the photos, the National Guard troops can be seen swearing in with the Washington Monument in the background.
Yeah. Osiris Ding Dong.
Yes. The service said, quote, deputation gives the guardsmen temporary limited law enforcement authority pertaining specifically to the safety and protection of the inauguration and related events. So, yeah, there's a lot of people wondering what this might mean. I don't think there's any good answers in here, but the 2,000 deputized guardsmen are among 21,500 National Guard troops deployed in the National Capital Region ahead of Biden's inauguration. Okay, so there we go. We got at least a more firm number, 21,500. The Guard troops are currently in D.C. to support security measures, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. There are some theories surrounding that, too. Why some of them would need this special deputization and why not do all of them? Why just 2,000? Yada, yada, yada. Who knows? But it's not just the Chinese that the Biden doesn't want showing up at his inauguration, Gons. This is from FoxNews.com. Biden transition officials tells migrant caravans. Oops. Now is not the time to come to the U.S.
Betrayed.
Yes.
Betrayed.
Apparently, there's more of these migrant caravans. That seems like a lifetime ago. And of course, it was a very strong liberal position to let the caravans in, and was a whole big hullabaloo when they weren't allowed in, which led to the children in cages, etc. Right. Well, here we go from Fox News. A migrant caravan moving from Honduras towards the U.S. border called on the incoming Biden administration to honor their, quote, commitments to the migrants moving north, citing the incoming administration's vow to ease Trump's restrictions on asylum. But on Sunday, an unnamed Biden transition official said the migrants hoping to claim asylum in the U.S. during the first few weeks of the new administration, quote, need to understand they're not going to be able to come into the United States immediately. Oh, no. Come on, liberals. Let them in. More than 1,000 Honduran migrants moved into Guatemala on Friday without registering as part of a larger caravan that left a Honduran city earlier that day. These caravans need to register. That's interesting. The Associated Press reported that they are hoping for a warmer reception when they reach the U.S. border, and a statement issued by migrant rights group Pueblo Sin Fronteras on behalf of the caravans said it expected the Biden administration to take action. The Biden transition official, however, warned migrants against coming to the U.S. during the early days of the new administration, telling NBC that while, quote, there's help on the way now, is not the time to make the journey. The situation at the border isn't going to be transformed overnight, the official told the outlet. Quote, we have to provide a message that health and hope is on the way, but coming right now does not make sense for their own safety, while we put into place processes that they may be able to access in the future, the official said. This is just a great display of presidential promises, you know? I mean, pretty much every presidential promise, almost every candidate has ever made, it's always I'll do this. I promise I will. Just not right now. No, later. I'll do it later. There's some, like Obama with Guantanamo Bay, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
President-elect Joe Biden has promised to reverse many of Trump's policies on border security and immigration. He has promised to end the migrant protection protocols, which keep migrants in Mexico as they await their political asylum hearings. The Trump administration has said the program has helped end the pull factors that bring migrants north, but critics say it is cruel and puts them at risk. Biden has almost, who cares about what Biden said? All right, there you go. So, not right now, migrants, says Biden.
Yeah, well, let's start the Kids in Cages campaign against Biden.
Why
would you put kids in cages, Biden?
I know.
Terrible president.
Of course, Biden was vice president when those cages were built.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it. He's changed his mind since his previous administration. But this is just the start of what I've been saying forever, which is when Biden gets in, and all his supporters are waiting for these promises to be kept. This is going to be a little bit of a painful awakening to a lot of them, realizing that, yes, Biden, just like any other presidential candidate, is making promises to get your vote and will ultimately disappoint you.
Yeah. Well, we noticed that in the last year, as a response to the coronavirus, they were letting out a whole bunch of prisoners. But the exact opposite is taking place in light of the inauguration. This is NBCnews.com. Federal prisons on lockdown in run-up to Biden inauguration. The lockdown decision is precautionary. No specific information led to it, and it is not in response to any significant events occurring inside facilities, the Bureau of Prisons said, which is all suspicious and weird to begin with. It's like, no. We're locking it down. Why? Well, no reason.
We're locking down the prisons. Okay. Why? No reason. Don't ask questions.
No reason. And that wasn't all that was weird about locking down things in the world, in America. Business Insider USPS says it's removing mailboxes and suspending mail collection in several major cities ahead of Biden's inauguration.
Why?
I don't know. What is the deal here? The U.S. Postal Service said it will remove mailboxes in several major cities as a security measure ahead of Joe Biden's inauguration next week. As a security measure ahead of the January 20 event, mailboxes in at least 17 states, including California and New Jersey, as well as Washington, D.C., will be temporarily removed. Several press releases from USPS said, quote, "It's part of our normal procedure to keep our employees and customers safe during times of protest or when large crowds are gathered near postal facilities, on postal routes, or by mailboxes."
They just don't. They don't want their beautiful little blue mailboxes to get dented in a riot, is what they're saying.
But then they didn't do this while all the BLM stuff was happening.
I know.
It's just very
at least
weird.
Not that I heard, not that I saw.
Yeah, at least 14 post offices in D.C. will be closed on Inauguration Day. They're citing the civil unrest of January 6th. Man, it used to be that like something happens and then the psyop comes in like, at least a few months, usually like a few years later, they'll come up with something.
Right.
9/11, for example, what was the, I'm blanking on the bill that happened, that the surveillance thing that took place right after
the
NDAA, but also the I'm totally forgetting the name of it.
Patriot Act.
Patriot Act. Yeah. How long did that take? It didn't take. It wasn't like right away, right? It wasn't like a week into after, or a week or two after.
Yeah.
But now it's like they have this event, January 6th, the breach of the Capitol, and they're just, boom, they're just like responding to it, using it as an excuse. It's just wild. But again, I don't know. No, prisons locked down, mailboxes will not be in operation because Biden's inauguration. The common citizen should be like, why is this president, this alleged president-elect, is he the right guy if we have to lock down prisons and shut
You know
down
what?
the USPS?
I support the USPS thing because I can have one day without getting a stack of Harbor Freight coupon books coming to my to my mailbox.
Yeah. Well, there have been people, some protesters, showing up at some capitals in different states. I believe this one was in front of the Ohio State House. Have you heard the speeches that were given?
No.
Okay, this is again some protesters. They say who they are and what they stand for, and so let's check this out.
We're all liberty-minded individuals, and we believe in everyone's equal individual rights. That is unalienable by whoever God or person that you pray to.
Okay.
You have rights as a person that can't be affected by the government, and those rights have been being affected in mass. And we're just here to peacefully let it be known that we are here for the people. We are not a pro-Trump group. We are completely politically unaligned today. We are here as people, and we welcome any people who wish to converse, to speak. They're welcome here. We're all...
Oops. Yeah, so there you go. We are not a pro-Trump group.
Trying to be very inclusive there.
Yeah, inclusive. He stuttered
God
or stumbled.
Whoever, or whatever. It's fine.
Whatever
you guys...
God thing you have there. But also, we are not Trump. We are not a pro-Trump group. Very explicitly says that.
Yeah.
So
well, and we knew this, and that's
I know
that's crazy. But it's not getting reported at all.
No, and that's not all. There was another one. I think this is the same location, and another person had a speech here.
Antifa, Boogaloo, and right-wing militias, they are the antibodies, not the disease that is destroying our country. The disease is a country run by two corrupt political parties that do not care about you. So deeply incestuous with corporations that they're indistinguishable from each other. A government that spent 6 months debating whether to give their own people $600, but only 24 hours to unanimously agree to give billions of dollars to foreign tyrannical governments and corporations. A government that has bombed villages overseas my entire life for my supposed safety here. This is a call for unity. For all of American people that realize the true threat against us to come together. For every mother mourning her children that was killed by police. For every business crushed down by state lockdowns. For every broken soldier sent to fight wars that have no point. This is our last chance to avoid either a tyrannical government or a bloody and pointless civil war among American people who do not have that much against each other and have more in common than they realize. And a message to the government. We come in peace. We do not intend to commit violence. But I am pleading with you, with tears in my eyes and cracks in my voice. If you continue to oppress the American people, they will remain rational no longer. Thank you.
Yeah, hey. I mean,
this one makes me nervous.
A little bit more eloquent.
A little bit, yeah. He had a phone in front of him. I think he had notes. So the other guy, I think, was just doing it from the heart.
Yeah.
But this one makes me a little bit more nervous, though, because number one, it's a little bit closer to our message of like, hey, right wing, left wing, same bird type of thing. And yeah, he made some good points at the beginning. But as he kind of went on, he talked about and the injustices served on various levels of institutions. And yeah, of course, you and I have been sort of on that libertarian type of kick concerning all of this stuff.
Sure.
But then towards the end, he's kind of like,
nonpartisan would be
nonpartisan, sure.
A less aggressive term.
Less aggressive. Trigger people with the libertarian language.
Yeah, well, people don't know what libertarianism is.
Yeah, that's true.
Nonpartisan.
Nonpartisan. Yeah. But at the end, he talks about how the people will no longer be rational if the government keeps oppressing like this. That what is that supposed to mean?
Well, I hear what you're saying, and if you take it, you can take that as a threat, or you can also take that as just a blatant fact. I mean, people are losing their rationality.
Well, yeah.
Whether he meant that as a threat or a warning, or distinct between a threat and a warning. You know the language I'm trying to use here.
Right. Yeah.
I think that is a legitimate warning if it is indeed meant to be a warning and not a threat. And I don't know. I think it's true.
I think it's true too.
Whether or not I want to stamp my name on what he's saying, I think he's saying something that's true, and we've seen it in many different ways. The thing that scares people about this guy is that it's not about social justice; it's about the existence of.
He does have
America.
a rainbow. He has a rainbow flag on his person.
Sure.
So maybe he's he's fighting for gay rights and liberty. Yeah, gay patriot. But also, did you see the mask this guy was wearing?
No.
There was a panning of this guy. Let me try to find it here. They kind of panned back, and there's a guy in front, in like the foreground of this guy. Oh man, where is it? They briefly, there it is. What is that mask? Is that a Darth Vader mask? Is that a paintball mask?
Oh, hold on. I'm waiting for the stream to catch up so I can see it.
It looks like a black skull mask.
Oh, what's funny is, those are advertised on Instagram all the time. It's just like it's just a skull looking mask. It's supposed to fit with tactical helmets and stuff. I think I've gotten this ad before.
So you're the target audience. This is right up your alley.
Yeah, well, they also advertise Islamic dating sites to me, so I get all sorts of weird ads.
You've really scrambled their AI.
I know that's how you're doing a good job of staying off the algorithms.
Yeah,
and keeping your VPNs and your security software up to date. Is they have no idea how to advertise to you.
Yeah, but this whole thing, it's like a conglomerate mix of all kinds of strangeness. You got like. Yeah, you're I guess nonpartisan or libertarian type of attitude, but also you got these.
You got the gay patriot, the skull man.
Skull man. You got. I mean, these guys have guns too. It's not like they're armed.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the point, and I think that's what's scaring. I mean, that might be the reason for 25,000 National Guard troops, is because as much as the mainstream media wants to make this all about right-wing extremists, or Trump supporters specifically, the people who are fed up are much more diverse than the mainstream media would have you believe.
Of course.
And that's kind of what we've been tracking with what we find on the show and bring to this show. But I think that's what scares them the most. I think what you're looking at here, you got the gay patriot and you got the skull man and you've got all types of people here. The scary part is that they're not all, fringe Trump supporters. It's all sorts of people who are fed up.
Yeah, which again, the propaganda, mainstream media, and the power they have over the narrative.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't even say the power they have, because it seems like they've been losing power for a while. Wasn't there like a big layoff a couple weeks ago of a whole bunch of people in mainstream media?
Yeah, there was something like some humongous number of people were laid off. Newsrooms. Oh, and we didn't mention it, but I sent you a thing. NBC and CNBC, all these mainstream media powerhouses, they're all asking for donations. They're all trying to switch over to the value for value model.
And you know what I said was one of the things Trump did recently, which might have worked because against fake news and all this stuff, was he basically created a executive order to shut down a lot of the corruption and middlemen for the big pharma industry. And that would bring the cost of a lot of the pharmaceuticals down to a more manageable scale. And presumably those companies would lose a lot of money. And the first place where they would pull back funding is with advertising.
Yeah.
So it's possible that Trump's executive order did work in kind of a backdoor type of way to defund a lot of the mainstream news outlets. So I'll give him that. If he actually did that,
as Biden, and
as well as Biden,
Chinese
Biden's going to be walking
interests.
he'll be walking into a presidency without the same kind of propaganda machinery that Trump had to oppose there. But we'll see.
This is a spooky setup, though, for a state-sponsored media, official state-sponsored media.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of countries, big powerhouse countries around the world have state-sponsored media. And that can mean different things. I mean, there's a way to consider PBS state-sponsored, but not in the way that like BBC or Chinese
CCNT.
Communist Party television would be. And that's one of the most dangerous things. And it's one of the things I'm a little bit spooked about the most, because one beautiful thing, just to reiterate my rant from a month or two ago about America and the time that we're in, is that the media and the government can be at odds with one another.
Right.
As much as it's frustrating to see the mainstream media, just
spew nonsense.
Well, oftentimes straight up lie and very purposefully say things about Trump that aren't true. Not to say that it's all not true, but certainly things have been propagated that are not true. And we've had the government and the mainstream media at just full blown war with one another for 4 years. That's a better situation than having the media just fawning all over the government. And, there should be that conflict between news and government. And that's the biggest worry I have about the Biden administration. Or one of the big ones is that we're not going to have that. The mainstream media and the government, they're just going to love each other so much. And that's bad for the people. It's bad for, the country, bad for the republic. It's bad for everybody when the news and the government are just in bed together the whole time.
State-sponsored propaganda machinery.
That's right. Okay, let's see. What do we have next?
We have, so part of the conversation early on with China, I wanted to lay out just real quickly. We won't have to spend a whole lot of time because we've spent quite a bit on the politics section here. Yeah. But concerning China, some stuff that's been going down.
Welcome to Chinese Show!
This is justice.gov. This is a government website. For immediate release, MIT professor arrested and charged with grant fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Defendant allegedly failed to disclose his work for the People's Republic of China to U.S. Department of Energy. And so, $19 million in grants awarded by various U.S. federal agencies. This guy was basically leaking information to China.
Yeah. Was this 1,000 talents thing?
I think so, yeah.
MIT. Come on, MIT.
I know, MIT. But if
the
MIT is complicit,
into the movement that we've been seeing,
right?
Where what is it called? Anyways, I don't need to go over the whole thing now.
De-Chinization.
Right. Well, China has been funding U.S. universities through the Confucius Institutes.
Right.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, we went through the list last year.
Yes.
Yeah. So
pay a lot of money to U.S. universities, and turns out, lo and behold, U.S. university professors are getting caught taking money from China when they should not be doing that.
Right. So that's why my point being that if an MIT professor was doing this, imagine how many professors and whatnot the rest of the country.
Yeah.
And then this is part of an ongoing story with Trump pulling back certain companies from China. ArsTechnica.com, U.S. declares Xiaomi, I think that's how you pronounce it, a communist Chinese military company, bans investments.
There we go.
Pretty big deal. The latest shot in the U.S. government's war on leading Chinese smartphone vendors is directed at Xiaomi, which today... Xiaomi. I'm not Chinese, so I don't know. Which today... I know.
Oh, no. I've given myself away.
the most Viking of the Chinese.
I'm the whitest Chinese man.
Which today has landed on the U.S. government's list of communist Chinese military companies via a new executive order. The declaration makes it illegal for U.S. citizens to own stock.
Oh my gosh, your Japanese bias is showing. Gons, you can't be Japanese racist. It's Xiaomi.
Yeah, that company. So there you go. I mean, it's illegal to own stock. So, people always talk about Bitcoin and how they're going to make it illegal. but way more illegal to own stock of this company than it is to own Bitcoin.
It's been all part of the plan, from real estate to investments to big tech. China has very successfully infiltrated America, in many ways, but most successfully through just participating in American capitalism.
Yeah.
In just a beautiful irony, the Communist Party of China is using American capitalism to legally own the country, basically.
Yeah, well, crony capitalism was really the big door that allowed all this stuff to happen. It wasn't necessarily
part of it, yeah.
If the U.S., the people in the U.S., Obama, even before then, were a little bit more loyal to the U.S. Constitution, I don't think it would have happened as much. But, what do I know? I'm just a podcaster.
Yeah.
We already talked about this story from the Wall Street Journal, how Marines are preparing for a rising challenge from China's military. Because one of the things is that we've been in a Cold War. We've talked about this, a Cold War with China this whole time, information war. But is there a point at which it's going to get hot? And I certainly hope not. And I really hope it doesn't happen on U.S. soil.
Yeah.
But
and interestingly enough, these Marines are specifically prepare for a rising challenge from China's military with island training. Yeah. So you have Chinese military doing Cold climate training, I forget what they called it, but training to fight in like the Rocky Mountains. And then now we got our Marines training to fight with islands on islands. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then this story here, which was kind of interesting, Yahoo News, Chinese-American socialite jumps to death while holding 5-month-old daughter.
Oh, no.
And you know what's crazy about this article? This is Yahoo News, okay? On the top of the article, you have a picture of this lady with her baby, and then a picture of her and Hillary Clinton.
With Hillary
Clinton.
What?
And I don't think Yahoo was trying, unless somebody within Yahoo is a Hillary Clinton body count believer.
What?
It's just a very bizarre situation here, but yeah.
Chinese American socialite who mingled with celebrities such as Hillary Clinton. Funny how Hillary Clinton is being referred to as a celebrity here. Reportedly jumped to her death in Hong Kong on January 6th. Also interesting. Luau Lily, 34. Oh, so close. She's 34, so nothing to see here, Guns.
Yeah, well, let's see what...
oh my gosh, plunged
curious.
Naked from her 5,000-foot penthouse. 5,000 feet? That is so high.
Lives in a crazy
That's
mansion.
almost a mile high. That can't be right. Oh, no, I'm a dummy. I'm a dummy. 5,000 foot.
The penthouse.
They meant to say, 5,000 square foot penthouse.
No, she didn't plunge 5,000 feet from the air. She lived in some kind of magical...
How big
Howl's
are they
Moving
building
Castle.
Buildings?
She was in Howl's Moving Castle in the sky.
Whoops.
And she said, no more to this life.
Wow, well, that's very sad. Yeah, that is funny, though, making the connection with Hillary Clinton.
I'm trying to find this socialite's birthday, and I'm unable to track it down as of this recording here. But in any case, I'm just wondering, how soon after she turned 34. But, yeah, I mean, what would cause her to do that other than, did somebody push her? Or do you think she really wanted to
I don't know, but
get out of a situation?
They are really hammering home the fact that she was friends with Hillary Clinton.
I know, it's weird. This Yahoo article is just like saying it without saying it. Like, how would you say that it was connected to Hillary Clinton without saying it? Just plaster her name all over this article.
Interesting. Well, that's very sad.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what that would be like to jump with your child there. But I don't know. I mean, this kind of stuff it always makes me worried about what kind of situation people are in, what they get tangled up into when they, rub shoulders with politicians or former politicians, especially if their last name is Clinton. It really is
right. Careful now. Careful now.
Yeah. So those are all some of the Chinese updates. And let me blast through these regular brief updates, and then we'll take a break.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
This is the Columbus Dispatch. As new Ohio law, House Bill 33 will protect reporters of animal abuse. Yeah, so you
House
can
Bill
snitch.
33. Okay.
You can snitch on your neighbors if you suspect them abusing animals.
Yeah, well, why were they not already protected?
I have no clue. But 33.
Okay.
Bill 33.
Yeah.
And then this one here, pop-ups. This one's the Epoch Times. Self-avowed hardcore leftist arrested for inciting violence at Florida Capitol. And how old was this guy?
I think I can guess.
Yeah.
Was he 33?
Prosecutors said they averted a crisis at the Capitol by arresting 33-year-old Daniel Baker, taking him into custody on a charge involving making a threat to kidnap or injure the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Florida. So, yep, there you go. Another 33.
Well, an interesting connection here. Just a couple quotes from Baker, who is the leftist guy. Quote, "This is an armed coup and can only be stopped by an armed community," Baker wrote in a flyer titled "Call to Arms January 20th," posted online. A criminal complaint against him alleges. "If you're afraid to die fighting the enemy, stay in bed and live," he wrote in the flyer, in which he called Trump supporters who plan to protest at the Florida State Capitol terrorists. Dun, dun, dun. So he's one of the inciters, and it seems like part of the left movement to try to mobilize Trump supporters for the trap.
Yeah. And he was they arrested him because he didn't do a good job. Not good enough. Let's get you off the shelf there.
Yeah.
This one is from discern.com. Harvard students petition to revoke degrees of Trump-supporting alumni.
Oh my gosh, cancel culture just reaching whole new heights here.
That's part of the issue with moving forward here. I feel like the liberal, leftist, Democrat, whatever community that hates Trump, the Trump derangement syndrome folk, they're going to feel empowered to do this stuff now, because they think that Trump was so totalitarian and all this kind of thing. And now they're going to flip it on the other side there and be like, oh, now we're in power. We can flex our totalitarian muscles.
Yeah. I mean, this is really intense. Let me just read a couple pieces of this. A faction of the Harvard student body is petitioning the Ivy League school to revoke the degrees of some high-profile graduates whom they believe have sullied the reputation of the school by being Trump supporters. Dubbed violent actors, Senator Ted Cruz and Representative Dan Crenshaw were among those specifically singled out by the petition, along with White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. They were joined by over a dozen Harvard graduates, the current students blamed for spreading the disinformation that created last Wednesday's insurrection. Yeah. The petition has drawn out support not just among traditional undergraduates, but also older adult students. Ooh. So, yeah, watch out. This is so weird. It's like not a very helpful thing to do. It's very specifically got this virtue signaling flair, because what is taking away a Harvard degree going to do from Ted Cruz? Nothing. It's just you're
no longer Harvard graduate, Ted Cruz. Get off the stage.
We've time machined your education.
I don't know. Yeah. So
well,
anyway,
the craziness of the cancel culture continues.
Yeah. Moving on here. APnews.com. Banking heir Benjamin de Rothschild dies at 57. Pretty young for a globalist inheritor. For Rothschild. And, a lot of people are pointing out, there's a picture of him on the top of this article, and people were saying, whoa, man, was he a vampire? What's his deal? He's got, really fair skin. He's got some messed up teeth.
Wow,
I don't know what's going on. What's going on with this dude?
Wow, he is, what did he die of?
It says
He
here,
looks
Benjamin.
simultaneously younger than 57 and older than 100.
Yeah, he looks like a 570-year-old vampire is what he just couldn't.
Yes, he looks great for a vampire.
He lost access to the blood, the children's blood.
Something. What did he die of?
Benjamin de Rothschild, who oversaw the banking empire started by his father in 1953, has died. He was 57. The Edmund de Rothschild Group, the company he was chairman of, said that de Rothschild died of a heart attack Friday afternoon at his home in Pregny, Switzerland. Since 1997, Benjamin de Rothschild headed the banking group, which was named after his father. Today, Edmund de Rothschild Group says it manages assets worth 160 billion euros, or $190 billion. Forbes magazine estimates de Rothschild's net worth at 1.5 billion. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they always say
this
about
the family wealth. It's not about individual
exactly,
wealth.
Exactly. So
Rothschilds.
His individual wealth being 1.5 billion, a mere speckle compared to the likes of like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and all that.
You know what's interesting though, because there's been the reports of all the upheaval and the change in leadership in Russia and all around Europe. Did we talk about that last episode, or are we still trying to put together confirmations of that stuff?
Oh, you mean what was it?
Like Merkel stepping down, Putin's government resigning.
I saw that trend, or people sharing that whole thing. Yeah, it's not as sensational as people were making it. Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff.
Straightforward.
Right. It's been an ongoing thing. Like Merkel stepping down has been an ongoing thing. That she didn't step down yet. Putin and the whole Russian government steps down. That was from last year, and it wasn't exactly that either. It's almost like taking some headlines and making a list to make it seem way more sensational. Like something's going down, but yeah, it's not.
It's been a Twitter list floating around for a week or so, listing all these upheavals and changes in leadership, and some of it's from a while ago. Some of it has yet to be done. It's a pretty extensive list, but this would be interesting alongside that list. You know, if you're talking about shift in global leadership, definitely the Benjamin de Rothschild, the chairman of the, whatever
Edmund
group,
de Rothschild Group.
Yes. Head of a major banking superpower. That would be an interesting change of leadership to add to that list.
Well, it seems to be all part of the Great Reset.
Reset this!
It makes sense. And who knows if he actually, obviously he's, who knows if he died? You know what I mean? This might be just him bowing out of the world stage.
Right.
And going off and hanging out with Epstein or whatever. And on the dark side of the moon or the Mars fake station.
Mars teleportation base.
But you know where we might see this Benjamin de Rothschild pop up is on a Microsoft chatbot.
Oh my gosh.
Popular Mechanics.
I don't want to chat with this guy.
Popularmechanics.com. After you die, Microsoft wants to resurrect you as a chatbot. And we covered this story before, but it's making its rounds again. And basically kind of like the Black Mirror episode, the last month, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office granted a patent to Microsoft that outlines a process to create a conversational chatbot for a specific person using their social data. In an eerie twist, the patent says the chatbot could potentially be inspired by friends or family members who are deceased, which is almost a direct plot of a popular episode of Netflix Black Mirror. So I think when we reported it, it was like, oh, they're trying to do this, but it's official. The patent.
Yeah, they were
and
talking
trademark.
about they could do it, and now it's going to the patent
going
office.
to happen. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So
I do want to give a shout out to Runk Smash in Twitch, who put out the term Necrosoft instead of Microsoft.
Ah, very good. I like that one. Necrosoft.
Yeah, good job.
Show title.
That'll go on the list.
Yeah. And then lastly, for a quick update here, this is inputmag.com. Artificial intelligence machine was able to dupe medicaid.gov.
Oh.
Deepfake text manipulation has the power to throw government agencies off, a Harvard medical student has shown. But The Harvard medical student was a Trump supporter, so.
I take umbrage with the term text deepfake. That seems like such an uneducated reporter's term. Because a text deepfake doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's like Microsoft's dead people chat.
It's worse than that.
The dead people chat box can
deepfake is specifically visual or audio.
Yeah.
And manipulating an image, laying one image over another image to create an illusion where text is just text. This was just a bot. This was just AI bots that made comments on a petition. This is not text deepfake.
Deepfake text manipulation, just like deepfake videos and photos, has the ability to dupe even the smartest of observers. Wired reports. Yeah, you got to believe it because Wired magazine reported it.
No, this is dumb.
Automated text campaigns have caused headaches for the federal government even before Weiss. In 2017, the Federal Communications Commission found that more than 1 million responses sent over net neutrality weren't real. Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, this is an ongoing issue that I think they're just putting a new name on it to make it seem like the threat is worse than it really is.
Yeah, it's just bots. They just made Twitter bots leave comments on a petition thing.
Yeah.
And it's not, this is sensational. I don't care for the reporting style, but it is interesting how it's the big scary thing with this is that, it was unleashed on a government. It wasn't a petition. What was it? Yeah, it was like a public comment period on some Medicare thing. And that is a great example of, bots are not just ruining the social media experience, but having this affect government operations, which arguably all bots have affected government operations. That's one of the big deals. Yeah. So that is interesting. Yeah. We're going to have to figure out what to do with all these. This might be a nice little false flag to get rid of public comment periods on government stuff. So now the people no longer have an opportunity to comment on it.
Either that or this just pushes the bio verification. If you want to comment, you're going to have to verify yourself biologically. Bio IDs and all that kind of stuff. That's all part of the. We have to fight the deep fake text manipulators.
Yeah. No,
show your flesh and blood.
You're totally right. If it's definitely going to be the puzzle piece that fits into that whole image. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to mention the iPet Goat 3 real quick?
Just because we mentioned it, we are going to talk about it. There's not much to talk about except for, and this is referring to Incarnate Unlimited mentioned earlier in the show in the Twitch chat. What's up, buddy? Did they make a real iPet Goat 3? And we spent some time going through the alleged iPet Goat 3, and it doesn't seem to off air, right? And it does not seem to fit into the iPet Goat saga whatsoever. It was made by a different company. The animation styles are completely different and also much worse in iPet Goat 3. So if it was legit, I would think that they would at least try to make it look better and not worse. It seems to be a pro-Islamic, it's not fake iPet Goat 3. It's just not made by the same people and seems to have a different
ideology
message. Yes, it very explicitly shows Jesus as sort of the king of the Illuminati, and then the Islamic savior comes out of
Mahdi.
Yes, Mahdi comes out of the Middle East to destroy the Jesus Illuminati. Does not fit at all with the other iPet goats, and so I would not include it in any serious investigation of the iPet goat videos.
I did like Putin and Trump dancing at the beginning, though. That really got me excited.
There was some fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Let's do a quick break, and then after the break we have some money stuff, some really important money stuff because it all ties to the Great Reset. And a couple WACCINE pandemic special updates, and then we'll call it a show. So
it's a great second half of show. Make sure to stick around for it.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
That's right. Take a break, folks. But stick around because, like Gons mentioned, we got some really important stuff after the break. So, first of all, I think we should thank some of our producers. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier in the show, mainstream media is starting to wake up to the fact that they can't even keep doing their programming on the original advertising model, which has plagued the world for so long. And we decided long ago that we were not going to take corporate money to support what we do on this show. It goes against anything we could ever possibly want to accomplish. It's a good way for a lot of people to continue doing their work. But if you're trying to do what we're doing, taking corporate money is completely antithetical to that. And not to mention that advertising is literal mind control. The inventor of advertising called it that in so many words. And it incentivizes creators like Gons and I to basically package you up, dear listener, as a commodity and sell you to a corporation when you're just trying to give your trust and attention to somebody that you can feel good about giving your trust and attention to. It would be a complete betrayal in our view to then turn around and sell that trust and attention for our own personal gain.
Yeah,
so that is...
I just want to play this clip because every once in a while I think we should play the whole thing in context. The 10-second clip of Ben Shapiro selling out his audience.
As we will see, there are some questions to be brought about just how much of a friend to democracy and freedom of the press Joe Biden is. And meanwhile, the media continue to craft that narrative in just 1 second. First, let us talk about the fact that everybody loves waffles. Everybody loves waffles. Everybody loves waffles.
That's right. Everybody loves waffles. Thank you, Ben, for that beautiful little piece of mind control. So there you go. We actually just yesterday got another offer for advertising, and it's like these people don't even listen to the show. Come on,
they don't. I don't think they do.
The
ones at this point, the people messaging us.
And that's another point is they don't listen to this show. They just see our numbers and say, oh, we got to give them money so we can brainwash their audience. And we say nay. That's why we're on the value for value model. It empowers you, dear listener, to become a producer of the show and to support not just the show and Gons and I, but also support the anti-ideology of advertisement. Every one of our producers is not only saying yes to keeping Canary Cry News Talk going, but saying no to the global theology and structure of advertising that just wants to turn you into a little number that they can monetize in their own way. It's also another way to take power out of the monolithic advertising and mainstream media's hands by putting your own value on a piece of media instead of letting corporations put a value on it for you. And I believe that there's some pretty impactful spiritual benefits and consequences depending on what side of that battle you exist on. So I want to take a moment and thank some of our producers, and that's right, they are real producers. That's not just a cute term. And I will start by mentioning that we have patreon.com/Canary Cry News Talk.
CCNT.
That's not right. The CCNT, patreon.com/CCNT. But don't worry, that's going to be a quick segment. There are no new Patreon producers. In fact, there seemed to be a big exodus from the Patreon, and a lot of those people I have not seen show up in other places. So I don't know. We may have said something that made Patreon people mad, Gons. Yeah. Oh, well. But we do have patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. And if you don't know, Canary Cry Radio is our show we've been doing since 2012. It's an interview style show. It's a great a great way to become familiar with sort of the Canary Cry ethos and worldview. And they're all up there. Just search Canary Cry Radio on your podcast player. But over at patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio, somebody I've been seeing in the chat for a very long time, and I'm happy to see come in as a producer, and that's Jacqueline P. coming in.
Thank you,
at the $33 a month level.
Ooh.
Our Illuminati master, Jacqueline P. So thank you very much, Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Next, but we have other options. If you don't like Patreon, that's okay. A lot of people don't like Patreon. That's why we have canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support is a great place to become a producer. There's lots of literature there to help better understand the value for value model. But there, you can also sign up to be a monthly producer. Or if commitment is not your thing, you can make a one-time producership in any amount that you'd like. And Guns, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
First up, we have producer Mark F. coming in.
Thank you very much, producer Mark F.
And he says, Basil and Gons, just sharing some of the profits from my recent photography/art sales.
Oh.
fineartamerica.com/profiles/Mark-Fuller. I guess I can say it, Fuller.
Yeah, that's his link.
Yep, to help you continue the good work the Lord has given you to do. Soli Deo Gloria. Signed
Thank
Mark.
you very much. Producer Mark. And yeah, there you go. If anybody is looking to obtain some fine photography or art, fineartamerica.com/profiles/Mark Fuller. He's a producer of the show. Or Mark Fuller, by the way.
Dash. So yeah, thank you, producer Mark. Really appreciate that. It's cool that this is how technically you can quasi advertise whatever you're doing on the show, or at least get a mention.
And producer Mark came in with $33.21. So
Illuminati for the year.
Yes, Illuminati 21.
Yeah. Next up, I'm gonna go with Rachel S. Producer is it Rochelle?
Rochelle.
Thank you, producer Rochelle. She says, I've been blessed by your humor, intrigued by your content, and informed by your reporting. May God bless you and keep you safe, and the canary flying under the radar.
Amen.
May your existence be hidden from the principalities so you may deliver truth to the remnant. Thank you.
Honestly, that's the only thing that explains.
Yeah, yes, it is truly.
A lot is that we are sort of have been supernaturally allowed to exist.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, producer Rochelle.
Yes, thank you. Next up, producer Lorelei.
Thank you very much, producer Lorelei, coming in with $33.
33. We got a lot of Illuminati handlers.
I know, that's great.
Next up, producer Denise W.
Yes, thank you very much, producer Denise, and she came in has become a monthly producer. Yes. So thank you very much, Denise W.
Thank you, producer Denise W, and for all future contributions, because everybody that's on a monthly subscription, we don't necessarily name every time. So
not every month, but we do announce it when you become a new monthly producer, and that is very important. You know, they don't get shout outs every month, but becoming a monthly producer really goes a long way to set down a foundation to make sure we can keep the show going.
Yeah. And last but not least, our executive producer for episode 288, Kaihuto, producer Kaihuto. Yeah. This is a longer note.
Why don't you read the short note? I'll read the email.
Okay, so he said, from Kaihuto, I have been listening to you two on and off since 2014. The Lord opened my eyes in 2011. I'll share that story soon, but I wanted to show my support. And he's shared the story with us.
Yeah, and very generous. Thank you very much, producer Kaihuto, who is our executive producer for episode 288 of Canary Cry News Talk. So thank you very much, and a nice little jump towards working towards that knighthood. Let's see here. This is the email from Kaihuto that says, I'm so grateful for your podcast and the work that both of you do faithfully. Now 3 times a week. Oh my gosh, you're telling me. A small story about me and what led me to you two. One day in 2011, I was binge watching Ancient Aliens on TV, and I prayed to God, Lord, I know you're real, but this program shows compelling evidence about aliens. Aliens. Please open my eyes and reveal your truth to me. Then I saw L.A. Marzulli speak on one of the seasons of Ancient Aliens, I think season 2 or 3. He mentioned Genesis 6 and the Nephilim. It was then that I knew that God had answered my prayer. I went on a quest and found Tom Horn. I learned as much as I could digest from the two of them, and eventually in my research, I stumbled upon the documentary Age of Deceit. You did it again, Gons. Yay. From the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. That documentary opened my eyes even wider to understand more about things written in the book of Revelation, not Revelations, Gons.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I have since watched all 3 Age of Deceit documentaries a few times each. Wow, that's a lot of viewing. That's got to be like at least 20 hours. Somewhere in the midst of all my seeking, I had heard Canary Cry Radio and sought it out. I've been a listener behind the scenes for years, since 2014. Today, I finally made my first contribution to the show. I'm sorry it's past due. I completely support the value for value model you have adopted. Right now, I'm currently working for New York State doing COVID response, delivering supplies, PPE, gloves, masks, and hand sanitizer, face shields, and gowns, test kits, and now the vaccine. Through New York and New York City.
Don't leave it out on purpose. You'll go to prison, apparently.
Oh yeah, no, you don't want to commit any crimes. I listen to you two every time you're on Twitch while doing this mission since March 2020. 5 to 7 days. Yeah, okay. Wow, yeah. So he's there listening to a lot of Canary Cry News Talk and Canary Cry Radio. To echo producer Natalie, you both keep me laughing and in a good place mentally while the world is in chaos and falling apart, especially now. I love what you both bring to the table, the community you have created, the Flippy updates exposing the NWO, and the producer-created jingles, art, and music. Wow, he loves it all. Or they, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's a he. I think. Keep up the good work. You are lighthearted, entertaining, insightful, and are making a huge difference / impact on opening the eyes of many while sharing the truth through the lens of Bible prophecy in light of current events. We may occupy this earth currently, but we are citizens of heaven, and your show helps keep me in that perspective when fear tries to overwhelm me. Love you guys and the Canarians, Kaihuto. Wow. Thank you very much, executive producer Kaihuto. And that was I just wanted to read that because that was a great story. You know, that's a whole journey of getting in the Canary Cry crew.
Yeah, and not something that's, I know a lot of times people feel alone in that journey. Yeah. But that's part of the reason why we wanted to build up this community as well with, canarycry.community and just anybody that's in the chat and everything else, because you're not alone. And we don't have to agree on every little detail, but I think the pursuit is where people get lost or people get misled or people lose faith in whoever or whatever, because they
disconnected and isolated, right? Because it's a crazy, rabbit hole that seems too tight for anybody else to be in there with you, but we're all in it together.
Yeah. So thank you so much, producer Kaihuto, executive producer Kaihuto.
Yes. Okay, and Gons, I have a couple fun charts to mention for those who might be new. Yes, I like to keep, because our producers, we have so many producers and they all listen to the show, it's only right that we keep the producers aware of our podcast charts. And there was a fun thing that happened recently, which was we had an Asian invasion.
Ooh.
Yes. So listen up.
Finally, my peoples, come on.
Yes,
took you long enough.
Something interesting is happening in Asia when it comes to Canary Cry News Talk. So I'm going to start. Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Canada. We were 74th in news commentary up in Canada. So thank you very much, Canadian listeners. But we were 84th in news commentary in Singapore.
All right.
Yeah. So top 100. 38th in news commentary in Malaysia.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey.
So that's top 40 in Malaysia.
Nice.
So thank you, Malaysian listeners. Then we were 79th in Taiwan, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Considering the issues that they have with China and China's ability to censor programs like ours. So good job, Taiwan, making it work. And then one that really blew me away, we are number 5 in news commentary in Thailand.
You're going down, Olstein.
That's right.
We're coming.
Top 5 in Thailand. And and especially to American listeners and Western listeners, you might think, well, it's Thailand. But really, I mean, top 5, to get top 5 anywhere is pretty incredible. And I'm very happy that Asia is starting to tune into the program. And I bring it up because we've almost never shown up in any Asian charts.
I'm wondering, I'm looking at the chart you pasted in here, and it says that we moved down 3 spots in Thailand.
Yeah,
Does that mean we were number 2 at one point?
That seems, yes. So that means at some point, I didn't catch the chart when it happened, but yeah, at some point we were at number 2 in news commentary in Thailand.
How does that even happen?
I have no idea, but it's awesome. So thank you. And yes, thank you and welcome to all of our Asian listeners. And just so, again, the producers understand, these are just with the RSS feed. This is the podcast statistics, not YouTube, not any of the video streaming. And this is brings me to another point. I really want to make sure everybody knows, especially with everything going on the platforms like YouTube and Twitch and things like that. If you're not into listening to podcasts, you really need to get into it. Not just because RSS, as Adam Curry on No Agenda mentioned in yesterday's show, RSS is a protocol. It's not a platform. So for those who don't know, RSS is the technology that allows podcasts to go out. And it's exactly that. It's a technology. Nobody can censor the RSS feed. It's not like YouTube can shut down an RSS feed. So when we're moving into a time where we're unsure about what will be available and what shows will get censored and not censored or shut down or shadow banned or whatever, even if you don't want to listen to it now, you gotta start. You gotta find a podcast app that you enjoy. And you need to subscribe to the RSS feed, to the podcast version. Because if we get kicked off of all the platforms, we'll still have the show on the RSS feed. It's kind of like the ham radio of making sure you get to listen to Canary Cry Radio or Canary Cry News Talk. And do we want to plug?
Well, just before we do, I pulled up an ABC News story here. This is the actual headline. Extremists exploit a loophole in social moderation. Podcasts. Ooh, scary podcasts. So
they're already starting to target RSS because they know they can't do it. They know they can't do it. So they're trying to demonize it by saying it's for extremists.
Right.
And just to explain, because producer Jacqueline is asking in the chat, said, I tried to download RSS, but I couldn't. So you find a podcast player like Apple Podcast or Stitcher. We're actually on Spotify as well. Those apps pull automatically from our RSS feed. So just find an app. You don't download RSS proper, or at least that's the worst way to do it, or the most confusing way for those who might not be too tech savvy. Just get a podcast app, Stitcher, Spotify, or head to podcastindex.org. .org. So yes, just another plug for Adam Curry. He's working on podcasting 2.0, baby, and we're all very excited about it. updating the podcasting framework. But if you head to podcastindex.org, you'll see a list of podcast applications that are on the forefront of podcasting 2.0, and find one you like. I have not figured out which one's the best yet, so when I do, I will let you all know. But download one of those apps and just search Canary Cry News Talk. I'm not 100% sure if we're on all of them right now. Gons, do you know?
Yeah, we are. We're on most, pretty much all platforms. And one of the things that podcastindex.org is doing is they're creating, and this is a little technical, but they're creating API keys where we can, Basil, you and I, with the help of some producers out there, we can create our own app where we can aggregate our own set of RSS feeds and create a little hub for ourselves where anybody can download. And the one I've been using recently is called, what is this called? I'm forgetting the name of it. Hypercatcher. And the cool thing about Hypercatcher is there are community chapters that you can create. So if you're a listener, you can actually assign chapters to the podcast.
Yeah,
and you can connect images to each spot as well. So it's a very cool thing.
It's taking podcasting to the next level, and we're very grateful to Adam Curry for being such a major part of that movement. So what is it? Podcasting Index or Podcast Index?
It's podcastindex.org.
Podcastindex.org.
Yes, and if you type in Canary Cry Radio or Canary Cry News Talk into the search bar, you'll find both. And you'll find our RSS feed, and or you can just listen it through that as well. But yeah, it's the RSS is really the last place where, in terms of the current internet, it's difficult to censor because, and that's why the whole Joe Rogan Spotify deal was such a not a blow, but just ridiculous in terms of
trying to centralize and corporatize podcasting, which was just. It was spooky for podcasters because you don't want to centralize podcasting like Spotify was trying to do with Joe Rogan, which was basically trying to convert this new, Wild West decentralized way of providing media into a corporate structure. And thankfully, that's not paying off for them.
Right. So anyway, there's a little side thing with everything, but
well, as we've been harping on, people are starting to wake up to privacy concerns and big data and trying to disconnect from the monster. I know a lot of people rely on YouTube to listen to the show, and we're so thankful that we're still able to do that, but it's very possible that someday that won't be able to happen. So you want to be learned up on listening to the actual podcast versus relying on YouTube.
Yeah, and we're also currently in just figuring out ways to be able to do this live stream with the video to our own website, which is not the easiest thing to do. I'm learning that it's quite difficult.
Yes, we're working on moving this live stream to our own website because it's just a matter of time, folks. I do see a question from Daniel Lopez on YouTube. RSS, can you comment on RSS? No, as of now, but Podcasting 2.0, I believe, does integrate chat features. So stay tuned. All the problems are being worked on, but get your knowledge base now before it's too late. Okay, I'm sorry to take so long doing that, but it's just really important.
Yep. Just real quick, let's get through some of the artwork.
One art, please.
Huzzah!
First, we have a piece of art from Josiah, and this is comes from the Good Feathers cartoon about 3 pigeons, referring to Joe the Pigeon story. And it makes me very uncomfortable that Joe has his arm wrapped around what's presumably me and you.
Yeah, so you've got you and I as canaries, yellow pigeons, and then there's Joe the Pigeon just getting all up in our space. It says, Joe Pigeon stops by to hang out with the Canary Cry gang. No, don't sniff me, Canary Joe.
I will not touch your leg hairs, Joe.
Pigeon Joe. Pigeon
Pigeon
Joe's
Joe.
got hairy legs.
Yeah,
Very funny. Thank you very much, Producer Josiah, for that
Thank you,
piece.
Producer Josiah. Next up, we have Producer Allie, and I love this one. Farmer Mel and Farmer Belinda Gates pause momentarily to reenact the classic American painting American Gothic, then resume their relentless effort to take over the entirety of America's food production capabilities.
Yeah, so this is great. This is in reference to the story we had last episode about Bill Gates owning the most farmland in the United States, and it's that classic in the world. Yes,
or is it just US?
I don't know. I think it's the United States. Okay, because I'm sure China. There's a whole different thing. So it's it's Bill and Melinda Gates reenacting that classic farmer painting, where you have the very solemn looking bald farmer holding the pitchfork and his wife there. But Bill's head is on the wife's body, and Melinda's is on the husband. This is very funny, very good. Yeah.
Very clever.
And as always, Allie, you just keep getting better and better. Thank you very much for your continued artistry on the show.
Thank you, Producer Allie. Next up, we have Producer Grace coming in with, I think it was a quote. It's the NWO team of second stringers. I think that was you that mentioned the New World Order B team. I don't remember what it was in reference to.
It was the Common Project, who are working on the Vax ID.
Oh, right.
Vaccination ID. Right. Yes. And you look at the list of people on the board, and it's just like 100 B string, NWO B stringers. So thank you very much, Producer Grace, for, you know what I love about Producer Grace's artwork? She's listening. You know she's listening.
Every word.
Yes, she gets the quotes right.
Yeah, she's inspired by our words and turns it into art.
And I'm inspired by her art to make more words.
It's a symbiosis with our producers. Okay, and then lastly, we have a diagram that was created by producer Mark. This was in response to the mRNA conversation we had a couple episodes ago, I think.
So may I, because I have
some
penitence I have to pay here. So first, there was an email from producer Mark here. It says, in response to Dr. Bowtie's rank. Dr. Bowtie was that video we played a couple episodes ago where he was arguing that the vaccine is actually a medical device and not a vaccine.
Right.
And this was producer Mark, who is a 25-plus year microbiologist who listens to the show and who keeps us honest about our knowledge and our what we say about vaccines.
Right.
Which
is welcome, by the way. This is a communal effort. I
love it.
I don't think it would be good for us to just spout off things that scientifically or medically we're completely ignorant of.
And we hate that too, because a lot of vaccine alarmism comes from people who don't have anybody keeping them accountable. Right. And that's one of the great things about this show is we are held accountable for whether it's financially with our producers or knowledgeably with, our producers who are long-time veterans in certain industries. And we've got a lot of different industries represented. And we're thankful to producer Mark for keeping us accountable and not just spouting whatever nonsense comes to our heads. So here's the email. In response to Dr. Bowtie's rank, I think the doctor doth protest too much. I am sure there may well be a legal definition of medical device and vaccine. However, the mRNA vaccine, but insisting that the mRNA vaccine is a medical device seems to be splitting hairs. And I agree, and I think that's kind of the point. I think he wants to split those hairs. And, arguably, we should be splitting hairs when it comes to this, but that's okay. Since we only listened to a clip of a longer discussion, I wonder if his point of calling the vax a medical device was to avoid all the anti-vaxxer rhetoric that comes up when someone objects to this specific RNA vaccine technology. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that would be a benefit of him doing this. Or if there are some legal pitfalls the mRNA vaccine makers totally get exempted from by calling it a vaccine as opposed to a medical device. And I think that's the big one.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too.
They have to call it a vaccine so they can have the indemnification, so nobody can sue them as a vaccine maker. In any case, based on Basil's admitted confusion over how the mRNA vaccines work, I tried to find a simple and clear illustration. When I did not find any online, imagine that, nobody wants to simply explain it, I just went ahead and made one myself. It is totally simplified to the basics, and I expect there are slight differences between the various vaccines being put out there, the exact mRNA sequence used, the carrier used to get the mRNA into the cells, other additives, including the boost included to boost immune response, etc. But if you can understand this, you got it. And I think we should take a moment and try to understand this, okay? So I'm going to do the best I can to make this understandable for our strictly audio listeners as well. So on the left, it's kind of a T-chart here. On the left, it says normal infection and immune response. So this is not with the vaccine, but it says 1. C19 virus enters the body and starts causing issues. 2. Body sees the virus's spike protein. 3. Body starts making anti-C19 spike protein antibodies. 4. Body clears the C19 virus. So that's your normal way of dealing with C19. Bottom line. When C19 enters the body, 1, the body remembers seeing the C19 spike protein. 2, the body kicks up production of anti-C19 spike protein antibodies. 3, antibodies neutralize the C19 virus and clears it out before it can cause any issues. And one of the keys here is with this the spike protein. The thing that actually makes the coronavirus sort of unique in a lot of ways and not unique in other ways is it's called corona because it's got these little spike things that help it attach to stuff, and they call that a corona, like a crown. Now, on the right side of the chart here, it says how the mRNA vaccine works. 1, mRNA coding from the protein sequence of part of the C19 spike protein is delivered to your cells via a viral vector or liposome, basically an empty shell containing the mRNA. So the little code that they put together that we broke down a few episodes ago, where we can actually see the code that they're sending. Mm-hmm. Gets delivered to your cells through this mRNA vaccine. Your cell starts making and excreting the spike protein, which is what I was kind of trying to explain in my failed attempt, meaning this code goes into your cells, and your cells actually start making the little spikes themselves. Then 3, body sees the virus spike protein in your cells are making. So your own cells make the spike, and then your body sees those spikes. And then 4, body starts making anti-C19 spike protein antibodies. That's how that's how this is supposed to work. Note, the mRNA virus does not change your cell's DNA or genetic code. It only interacts with the cell's protein-making functions, ribosomes, to make the C19 spike protein. And that's something we've been hammering home for a while, because a lot of claims that this changes your actual DNA. And I know people get mad when we point this out. It doesn't change your DNA. It communicates something else to make your DNA do something. And a way of understanding this for me, and again, producer Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, your DNA is like a book, right? You got a book of words that are decoded to, make your body do stuff. The mRNA communication is kind of like changing the accent with which you read the book. So, or pronunciation of words. So it's the same words, they just get expressed in a different accent or with a different pronunciation.
I was similar to your analogy. What I had read with the mRNA vaccine was that same book analogy, that if your genetic code is a book, that like a hard paper book, what the mRNA does is it provides this temporary page of instructions that comes in, gives the instructions, but then it like fades away. And then, yeah.
I think mine's better.
All right. Well, I'm just
we'll let
relaying
producer
things.
Mark.
Yeah.
the competition of metaphors.
Right.
But either way, it's really
hard.
Oh,
look at that. Gons has it better. Ah.
No. Did producer Mark say that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Mark, give me a break, man. Come on.
Yes.
I got to
send you a check.
Something. At least I'm trying here. I still think mine's better. Okay. But thank you very much, producer Mark, for that breakdown. Yes. And yes, we'll continue our mission to avoid the insincere alarmism and try to at least have a correct understanding of how this works. Again, as a disclaimer, neither Mark or us are advocating for people to get a vaccine if that's not what they want to do. That is not at all what we're trying to convince you to go do. Neither us or Mark, we've been very explicit about that. It's just important, if we're going to be having conversations about it, to be correct in the way that we're talking about it, or else it doesn't help. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help anybody.
And I'm seeing
we're just going off of wild explanations that have no basis in truth.
And I see somebody saying that the vaccine has nanobots in it. I think that's incorrect as well.
The nanobots.
It's
not nanobots.
There's nanoparticles, but I don't think there are
nanoparticles.
I don't think there are engineered nanobots.
No, don't even say that. It's not that you don't think that. There is not nanobots.
Okay, yeah.
People keep confusing nanobots with nanoparticles. And I get it. Please don't send me any more of the YouTube videos. I've seen the YouTube videos. There's not nanobots. Now, there are nanoparticles, which have been – what was the name of the nanoparticle that was causing the allergic reactions? Oh, I don't have it right in front of me. But yes, there are nanoparticles that have been shown to be dangerous and were they think was the reason for all these crazy.
Oh, right. I don't remember the name, but yes. Yeah. The allergic reactions. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can find it on canarycrynewstalk.com. Yes, so there is a specific nanoparticle that they are putting in there that was pretty irresponsible. It was like known to cause horrible reactions, but they put it in there because it helps the vaccine travel where they want it to go, and that's the one causing the all these horrible reactions, they think. So there you go. Anyways, I can't believe we're put in this position where we have to try to explain this vaccine when we don't even really want the vaccine. But there you go. Oh gosh, and now they're getting on the abortal fetal cells, which we also talked about a couple episodes ago. We can't keep doing this. Moving on.
Yeah, and we've addressed a lot of. I'm seeing a lot of stuff in the chat now, and we've addressed a lot of that. So
yep,
just go back some episodes, look for it.
Yeah. Keep listening to go back, listen to. I think we covered all of the things I'm seeing mentioned within the past 8 episodes. So just keep listening. All these questions will be answered. And no, this is not us trying to tell you to get the vaccine. It's just important to be correct in how we talk about it.
It's almost more nefarious, the fact that they're trying to force everybody to get it in a way. But also the response of the medical profession, the health professionals, just kind of botching the whole idea of getting it to people. It's very fascinating how they're not using more stringent, I've heard mainstream media saying Project or Operation Warp Speed has failed. And it's kind of like, all right, okay, I'm kind of glad it failed. It's
good. Well, that's good
that Trump's been bragging about it for all this time, but he was probably just kind of like, whatever. Just kind of saying things. Because you got to remember, politicians got to look at what they do, not what they say. So, all right. So I think let's end it, but also let's real quick go into a couple of the WACCINE pandemic special updates, just because it flows a little nicer.
While we're here, let's do it.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Wake on up, folks.
A pandemic special.
This kind of thing is way more disturbing than all of the technology behind the mRNA. Vox.com, still going to the grocery store with new virus variants spreading. It's probably time to stop.
Stop eating. Stop feeding your family.
Yeah. What? Come on. That's ridiculous. Health experts say you should avoid optional trips whenever you can. You probably need a better mask, too. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, in Wuhan, they're like having raves. Recent developments in the COVID-19 pandemic have exposed a grim reality. If we keep doing what we're doing now to prevent infections, we're screwed. Even more screwed. It actually
says that.
Yeah, it actually says it in Vox. Very professional. That's because the virus appears to be getting even better at infecting us. Since at least December, new, more contagious variants of the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19 have been out-competing earlier versions of the virus in countries as far and wide as Brazil, the UK, and South Africa. I don't even want to read the rest of it. Basically, stop going to the grocery store.
Yeah, right. So this is concerning the quote-unquote new variant.
Yeah. I'll read this. This is it's quote, shopping for 5 minutes in the grocery store is a lot better, 6 times better than shopping for 30 minutes, said Tom Frieden, the former director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is interesting because I don't think the CDC is actually promoting the idea of lockdowns at all this point.
Despite what the mainstream wants you to believe, most of the big health oligarchies in the world do not suggest lockdowns and have, while they all will say, maybe wear a mask, they all have varying reports on the effectiveness of masks, as well as, of course, the current asymptomatic studies that have not quite agreed with the earlier politicians trying to keep everybody in their house.
And it says, so that's Tom Frieden, a former director of the CDC. Since the odds of becoming infected rise the longer you're exposed. Isn't that true for anything? Like anything at all, anytime you're around?
That is how the word exposure works.
Quote, picking up groceries at the curbside is even better, and having them delivered is even better still. If you're able to get groceries delivered or pick up curbside, it will also help reduce the risk for those who can't. In other words,
that seems like a little bit of a jump because they're saying having it delivered is even better. Well, unless your delivery person is asymptomatically spreading, that's just kind of a nonsense thing to assume as true.
The delivery guy is going into the store, picking everything up, and then doing it over and over again with different people. So none of this makes sense. This is all just nonsense. Vox. I'll Vox you something. But I don't even want to read it. It makes me angry. I think this is more of a precursor to some of the food supply stuff that they're trying to, because Bill Gates has all that farmland, and we got to make sure that we only eat Billy's food.
Got to eat the Gates potatoes.
Yeah, and this other story
that goes along with. All the things.
All the things.
The second one, the second WACCINE story here from TaiwanNews.com. Shout out to Taiwan, where we hit number 5 on the podcast charts.
Yeah, it works out.
Yeah. HWO inspector caught on camera revealing coronavirus manipulation in Wuhan before pandemic. Ooh-wee. Video taken just days before the start of the coronavirus pandemic shows a current World Health Organization inspector discuss the testing of modified coronaviruses on human cells and humanized mice in the Wuhan. Humanized mice. That's a spooky term.
Nephilim
in the
hybrids.
Wuhan Institute of Virology, just weeks before the first cases of COVID-19 were announced in the city of Wuhan itself. Oh, don't they know it's a conspiracy theory that it started in Wuhan? In a video that was originally taken on December 9th, 2019, 3 weeks before the Wuhan Municipal Health Commission announced an outbreak of a new form of pneumonia, virologist Vincent Racaniello interviewed British zoologist and president of Eco Health Alliance Peter Daszak about his work at the nonprofit to protect the world from the emergence of new diseases and predict pandemics. Since 2014, Daszak Projects organization has received millions of dollars of funding from the U.S. National Institute of Health, which it has funneled to the WIV, that's the Wuhan Institute of Virology, to carry out research on bat coronaviruses.
Which, by the way, we documented this last summer. It was like June. We talked about the documents that were out there about how the NIH and a Wuhan laboratory were working together on a coronavirus thing there. So, and getting funding, millions of dollars in funding. So,
called it. In the first phase of the research, which took place from 2014 to 2019, Daszak coordinated with Xi Jinping, also known as Batwoman at the WIV, oh my gosh, on investigating and cataloging bat coronaviruses across China. Eco Health Alliance received $3.7 million in funding from the NIH for this research, and 10% was channeled to the WIV, reported NPR. The second, more dangerous phase, which started in 2019, involved gain-of-function research. We've gone through all the gain-of-function stuff. So anyways, there you go.
Gain-of-function research on coronaviruses and chimeras in human mice from the lab of Ralph S. Barrick of the University of North Carolina.
Humanized mice.
Yeah, chimeras.
Yikes. Yes.
And then it continues on here, and it says, in the interview, Daszak states the researchers found that SARS likely originated from bats and then set out to find more SARS-related coronaviruses, eventually finding over 100. He observed that some coronavirus can, quote, get into human cells in the lab, and others cause SARS disease in, quote, humanized mouse models. He ominously warned that such coronaviruses are, quote, untreatable with therapeutic monoclonal antibodies, and you can't vaccinate against them with a vaccine. Ironically, he claimed that his team's goal was trying to find the next, quote, spillover event that could cause the next pandemic, where weeks before the COVID-19 were beginning to report in Wuhan. And later he says, it is evident that just before the start of the pandemic, the WIV was modifying coronaviruses in a lab. Quote, you can manipulate them in the lab pretty easily. What he then mentioned has become the telltale trait of SARS-CoV-2 and spike protein. Quote, spike protein drives a lot of what happens with the coronavirus zoonotic risk. And then he goes on to say, as he has been suggested by proponents of the SARS-CoV-2 is a chimera made in a lab. He speaks of inserting the spike protein, quote, into a backbone of another virus, and then doing, quote, some work in the lab.
Some work.
Yeah. Providing evidence of the creation of chimeras for the sake of vaccine, he states, quote, now, the logical progression for vaccine is, if you're going to develop a vaccine for SARS, people are going to use pandemic SARS, but let's try to insert these other related diseases and get a better vaccine. So, I mean, he's basically admitting that there was some lab work done to intensify some of these, or at least to come up with some of these forms of the SARS-CoV-2. And I found this part interesting, too. In light of the WHO's trip to Wuhan, a researcher who goes by the pseudonym Billy Bostickson and his colleagues... Not a real name. And his colleagues at DRASTIC, which stands for Decentralized Radical Autonomous Search Team Investigating COVID-19. That's a cool name, DRASTIC. Yeah. Have created a petition demanding that the International Investigation Team answer 50 key questions about the outbreak in Wuhan. Among the questions is a request to access to the facility's database and laboratory records, which are supposed to go back 20 years and include a look at its safety procedures, safety audit reports, and safety incident reports. So, yeah, blaming China, but also admitting that there some lab hanky-panky that went on through some of these sponsored laboratories. So just kind of.
And the interesting thing about it is he's talking about all this 3 weeks before the virus appeared on the Chinese radar. And, you know, this pairs nicely with Event 201.
Oh, yeah. That even goes back even further. So we just keep saying it about this thing. And we're not the only ones saying this, but
I tried to tell you.
Try to tell you.
Yeah.
Try to tell you, folks.
Well, it's nice to see it come out in other spots too.
Yeah.
All right. You want to talk about money?
Let's do some money.
Bitcoin go to moon.
And
this. You want to do that? You want to do? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about it real quick. I mean, we got to go through these fairly quick.
I know.
Time limit. We're almost going on 3 hours here. The podcast.
Oh my gosh, we tried to go faster.
I know.
All right, so this is foxnews.com.
Video playing.
Video playing. Quiet video. Foxnews.com. New Jersey gym co-owner says state seized legal defense funds amid battle over COVID fines. Oh my gosh. The co-owner of a South Jersey gym who has butted heads with state officials over his open defiance of coronavirus lockdown orders told Tucker Carlson tonight, Thursday, that the state emptied out every single dollar that we have amid a legal fight over the legitimacy of millions of dollars in related fines. Quote, as of yesterday morning, my partner, Frank Trombetti, and I checked the bank statement and we had no money in our bank account. Atilis gym co-owner Ian Smith told host Tucker Carlson. Smith tweeted Wednesday that New Jersey Democratic Governor Phil Murphy and his cronies had seized 100% of their legal defense funds, an amount he said totaled $173,000. Smith further argued that the seizure amounts to effectively and intentionally interfering with our right to counsel. That's a good point. If you think that's going to make us stand down, you're delusional, he said. Gyms are allowed to remain open in Jersey, provided they followed COVID-19 protocols. According to Smith, Atilis gym patrons are not required to wear masks, thus violating the protocols. The Melmar establishment is fined $15,000 every day it remains open and does not adhere to the protocols. So this is the gym guy who continues to have a very public defiance of the coronavirus stuff. And this is the state taking all of his legal defense money is a pretty horrific thing to consider that the state has the power to do, which they may or may not actually have the power to do. But as we know, governors during all this suddenly think that they are the emperors of their little domains. Gons sounds like can the state take your Bitcoin?
Not if you have it stored correctly. Not if you have it on your own set of private keys.
Your own wallet.
Your own wallet. So this is something that I was mentioning last year on June 10th of 2020. And I said basically there were some people in China that were having their bank accounts frozen, and freezing. I said freezing bank accounts of crypto traders. This is likely coming to America, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but truly think it's possible. Mandatory vaccines will be a thing if you want to access your bank accounts too. So this idea that people always complain about cryptos, like, oh, it's not even real, it's digital. Well, what do you think our money is now that you have in your bank account? And because it's centralized and owned by governments, basically, and institutions, they can pretty much seize all your funds where you log in and all your money is gone. Your numbers on the screen are gone.
Yeah.
And I think this type of thing is way closer. If we're talking about a mark of the beast, you can't buy or sell without the mark. This type of activity is way more alarming than what the technology of the mRNA vaccine is at the moment, because, I mean, this is legit. This guy can't buy or sell, or at least use his money for the way he wants to. He's lost his freedom to do whatever he wants or needs to do with his money, and that's really problematic. And the thing with Bitcoin is if you have your own wallet, your own private keys, and you have it stored and safe, then as of now, until, I don't know, maybe quantum computers really goes online at a large scale or whatever, governments can't seize it. They can't take it from you. And you can access your digital money however way you want and spend it however way you want. And that's kind of the big revolution, or not the revolution per se, but the big breakthrough about Bitcoin, the computer science breakthrough of Bitcoin, which is that you become your own bank. I know it's a crazy concept.
I know.
But you become your own bank. You don't rely on some other bank. You become your own bank, which is a lot more anarchy type, or anarchistic or libertarian in principle than it is New World Order Mark of the Beast.
Right.
It's going against that entire system. So if this guy had kept his money in Bitcoin and did it the right way, then he wouldn't have woken up with all his money missing. I mean, of course, there's always a chance for any of that
you
to
never
happen,
know.
But
I
more
see a
likely
lot of
not.
people trying to say you can't take gold either, and yeah, that's fine. We totally support, gold as well.
Yeah, the thing with gold,
gold isn't bad.
No, we're not saying gold is bad. It is a little bit more cumbersome. It's harder to verify gold. If someone hands you a gold coin and says, "Hey, I got this gold coin, give me my food or whatever,"
you can't break a gold coin down to 1/10,000th of a gold coin. Yeah, 100,000th.
Yeah, and so there are advantages and disadvantages to both digital gold, which is what Bitcoin's narrative is now, and physical gold. Yeah, obviously people like to have things in their hands.
Yeah, you should
holding
have
the gold
some
coin.
of that.
You should definitely have gold and silver. Those things are real. But you know what the other thing is that is really what the wealthy and the elite are taking over that is of value in this world besides just gold, and because Bitcoin is it's kind of like it's currency and store of value type thing, one that's growing. But that thing is land, real estate. And that's why we see people like Bill Gates taking over everything. But speaking of gold, this is Bloomberg.com. Russia, for first time, I like how it's written kind of Russian too. Russia, for first time, holds more gold than U.S. dollars in $583 billion reserves. So, again, the dollar is losing its purchasing power, its value really quickly. And a lot of countries are trying to get rid of their dollars. And, what I'm hoping for is that the world, whatever replaces the dollar as the world reserve currency, that it's something that is, gold would be nice, although I don't think it's going to happen. Bitcoin would be nice, although, again, I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm concerned that it's going to be the Chinese yuan. And if that's the case, we're in trouble. We're in trouble in America. But we're in trouble in America anyway, because they're going to print trillions and trillions of dollars thanks to Biden's hairy legs. We're going to have $1 trillion per leg hair.
Specifically the legs.
And you thought that we were lying about that or making it up. Consider this. This is actually news.bitcoin.com. IMF, that's the International Monetary Fund, tells governments, spend as much as you can and then spend more.
Great.
The head of the International Monetary Fund has called on countries worldwide to spend as much as they can and then spend more. She admitted that this is a very unusual policy for the IMF, but it is needed to revive economies. Many people are interpreting her statement as very bullish for Bitcoin, which, sure, I think assets like gold, silver, Bitcoin, real estate, it's the thing is, I think I mentioned this before, but the dollar hyperinflating, and not seeing necessarily the price of milk or some of these basic things go up. But that's because the hyperinflation is being hidden in things like real estate and in tangible assets like gold, silver, Bitcoin. That stuff's going to go way up in value, and the rest of it's going to remain quote unquote steady. But tied to this is the news that came out how Biden wants to raise the minimum wage to $15. That's going to destroy a whole bunch of businesses who are unable to. I mean, if they do accommodate that, then it's really setting up everybody for the hyperinflation, because now if the minimum wage is $15, then you got to pay the people that are currently making $15 $30 to make them feel. You know what I mean? It's just a big push everything up, make everything more expensive, spend more of that money, and this is in line with that. And so,
yeah. Well, I saw somebody did a tweet I saw floating around. Somebody did a tweet where they're breaking down the the math of a $15 an hour minimum wage. Mm-hmm. And the complaint was, $15 an hour at 40 hours a week gives you somewhere around $33,000 a year.
Oh, $33,000, yeah.
But they were complaining, or I think it's 30 or something. Sure, but then they were complaining but teachers in Texas start at $32,000 a year, and now your minimum wage people are making more than teachers who had to go to college and all this stuff. And it's kind of well, we should probably pay teachers a little bit more than.
The whole system is broken.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it's
nothing is steady. It's just everything is so screwed up on so many different levels.
Yeah.
But anyways, there you go.
Somebody, who is this guy? I missed it. Sorry. Who was that? Saying if they can send bread and be a producer, as long as it doesn't go bad, I'll accept bread.
Yeah. I don't know. Someday soon, when our value for value will have to be done in ounces of rice and plastic water bottles of water. That's how we'll be sustaining ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready
Last
for
story
the
here.
Last story here. This is over at lifesitenews.com. And it says software error blamed for huge discrepancy in Vatican money transfers to Australia. You gotta love blaming it on the software error. The Holy See Press Office released a statement on Wednesday clarifying recent reports documenting that over $1.7 billion had been sent from official Vatican financial bodies to Australian accounts. The Holy See claims that the shocking number was actually the result of a software error and that the value of the transfer did not exceed $7.1 million or $7.4 million. Last month, LifeSite News reported on the news that the Vatican had sent $1.7 billion to accounts in Australia between 2014 and 2020, based on a statement from Australia's financial watchdog Austrac. The money was reported to have been sent between the two nations in over 40,000 transactions. Curiously, the yearly transfer value peaked in 2017 when Cardinal George Pell left his position as prefect for the Secretariat for the Economy to face trial in his native Australia on historical child sex abuse charges. However, after a number of weeks in collaboration with the Holy See's Financial Information and Supervisory Authority, Austrac has rescinded its previous allegation of such a high value in transfers. The Holy See Press Office, acknowledging the enormous discrepancy, announced that the reduced figure of around $7.4 million, quote, is attributable, among other things, to a number of contractual obligations and the ordinary management of resources. It added that the Holy See, quote, takes this opportunity to reaffirm its respect for the country's institutions and expresses its satisfaction for the collaboration between the entities involved. The peak in the revised transfer figures was also in 2017. So there you go. Don't worry. Nothing to see here. Don't question the Vatican finances. It's all software glitch.
Which is another reason why something like Bitcoin is valuable in this regard.
Guns.
I know I don't mean to shill Bitcoin in that way too much, but it does have a pseudonymous quality to it, which means all the transactions from wallet to wallet, every single one is public. So in a situation like this, if the Vatican wanted to send money to Australia and they did it with Bitcoin, and they said, hey, we sent this much Bitcoin from this wallet, whatever, the public can be like, oh, yes, that is true. When's the last time the public is able to audit any financial things of world institutions? You can't. It's all behind a wall, a digital fortress. But with Bitcoin, you can. And so that's why some people love Bitcoin and other people hate it, because it destroys the need at all for banks whatsoever. And again, there's a positive and a negative side to that. There's that story about how some guy, I don't remember who he was, but he lost his password to his wallet from like 5 or 6 years ago, and he has like multiple millions. It might have been billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin in his little wallet that he's only got 2 password attempts left or something. And
there's another guy in London who accidentally threw away a hard drive with a bunch of Bitcoin on it, and he's petitioning the city to be allowed to go dig around in the landfill.
Isn't that an old story though? That's like,
I don't know. I saw it it at least resurfaced recently, but yeah, no, because I think it was new because it was all in the context of recent Bitcoin prices. I think he had like $280 million worth, but maybe it's happened multiple times.
280 million on a computer hard drive in a landfill. Yeah. You know, it's funny. There's been those stories over the years of some guy who early on in Bitcoin you can mine it from a laptop. Now you can't. Now you need a lot more energy to do it. Yeah. But there's that story of a guy who was mining Bitcoin on his laptop, and his girlfriend was like, "God, can you stop doing that? It's really loud and obnoxious." And so finally, he's like, "Fine, I'll listen to the woman." And he threw away his laptop, and then a year later, the Bitcoin price went from $20 to $1,000 or whatever it was.
Right.
And he went to go searching for it in the landfills, and the mythology built around it was, to this day, he goes every day to the landfill looking for his laptop, where thousands of Bitcoin.
He still wanders today.
Yes, exactly.
Daniel, speaking of all this money stuff, Daniel Lopez in the YouTube chat says, how much are the Canary Cry radio shares going for?
Oh, yeah, we don't have shares.
Have we gone public yet? Are we listed on the NASDAQ? Yeah,
no.
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay.
We are not beholden to shareholders. And even if we did something like that, we would use the...
be in some sort of crypto thing, probably.
It would be crypto, and we would use the...
tokenized.
The Celsius network model, which is to, give back like 80% of profits to the people that are using the tokens and stuff, instead of keeping it all for our stakeholders and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that'll be
our list. That's the thing about us is our listeners are our stakeholders.
Right. Exactly. So you guys, as producers especially, it would be a cool way to do it, where if you provide your treasure, your finances to Canary Cry News Talk, that you have some kind of token that can appreciate over time. But then you're starting to get into all kinds of legalities, and I don't think we're ready.
Securities,
we're not ready to go there yet and file stuff with the SEC, and it's a headache. So we're not going to do that.
All right. Well, I think we should get you back to the kiddos.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We will be back. When will we be back?
Wednesday,
oh my gosh,
Inauguration
Day.
Oh.
We'll be back January 20th, 2021. That's right. This Wednesday, 2 days away. Wow, this will be a big one.
Okay, so I'm looking at the... Hold on.
We got to schedule this correctly.
Well, I'm looking at the schedule now.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't it happen in the morning?
I think so. It happened in the morning last time. Official inauguration, 9:30. What? Oh, hold on. This is wait a minute. I'm seeing a lot of PM here. Pre-inauguration center. Okay, that's the night before. The 20th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, which would be for us. That'd be 8:30.
8:30. Oh my gosh.
Early. You ready to get up early and live stream?
I don't know if we can get on it. Oh my gosh, my cat's in here. Can you hear that?
Yes, I can hear it.
Okay, well, we got to end the show. Yeah, I don't know. What do we get? Are we going to try to do it early? I mean, whatever is going to happen that's exciting should be happening by about noon.
Yeah. By the time we get on air, things will either the country will have been taken over by the Chinese communists, or Biden assassination attempt would have occurred,
or nothing.
Yeah.
So there you go. Put it on your calendar. Make sure you have notifications turned on, folks. Wednesday, the 20th of January, 2021. We'll be probably shooting for around noon Pacific Standard Time.
Wow,
I'm thinking. I know
real loud.
He's done. He's done with being trapped in the office. He wants to get out, so we got to end the show. He knows when I go into the cadence, when he hears me say, "Thanks for listening to Canary Cry News Talk," he's like, "Okay, we're up. We're moving." Anyways, so there you go. We'll be here on the Wednesday the 20th, probably around noon. We'll be shooting for a little bit earlier that day. Okay, I hear you. You're throwing me off. You're slowing me down, Kat. What am I doing? Oh, so remember, that'll be a great day for producers. You can produce the show.
Hairy Legs Live.
The Hairy Legs Live. If you've been thinking about becoming a producer or you want to continue to produce this show, take your own media future into your own hands, take responsibility and power out of the advertising corporations and put it back into the hands of the people. You can produce the show. That'll be episode 289, Hairy Legs Live. You can do that by heading to patreon.com/CCNT, or even better, head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support is your premium way to become a producer of Canary Cry News Talk. And next show might go down in history. So you might want to be put on record as a producer of that episode. You can also help out the show in a lot of other ways. You can create art, you can create music or jingles, whatever you do that's creative. You can send that over to us, and we would love to feature that on the show. And you can do that by sending it to canarycryradio@gmail.com or canarycryradio@protonmail.com if you're looking for a little bit more of a private way to do that. So there you go. You can also help out the show by leaving ratings and reviews. We had that 1 star, so we got to make up for that. We need some help getting our average back up. Just search Apple Podcasts, Canary Cry News Talk, or whatever podcast player you use, and leave a rating and review. It's very important. Helps out the show quite a bit. You can also become you can help out the show a ton by sharing the show with your friends, your family, your social media people, all those fun types of ways of spreading the word, because word of mouth is the best way to share podcasts and shows and things like that. So post it on your social media, share this episode, or just you got friends, you got family, they're starting to wake up to the world that the fact is not what it seems. And we would love to help them down that treacherous path of waking up that everything you know is a lie. So go ahead and share the show with them. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Everybody loves waffles.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. All right, folks. Thanks again. And Gons, any last words?
Join us Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all of you and all the producers out there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage. It will kill.
Everybody loves waffles.
We will launch a new age.
Look it up.
It's got to be biblical.
Son of a bee sting. You can't
now is the time to do what you're told.
Aliens. Aliens. Aliens.
He's a Satanist.
They are scum.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up.
Leave the bird alone.
I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
That's where I started.
Light up a huge blunt.
A joint.
Give everybody
magic
mushrooms. Smoke. The CIA, I mean, lots of intelligence agencies have tested secretly dosing communities. LSD.
Psychoactive pills should be covertly administered.
Just put me on some, I don't know.
Give you a shot in the butt. Fluoride. Oxytocin. Get a chemical hug.
I did dabble, some of that robot crack. I know what it's like.
It's a lethal recipe for disaster. You need help.
If you're a pharmacist, you need to repent.
All right, weird.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick. Tick. Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all away. They'll suck your blood.
Politic. Politic. Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politic. Politician. Politic. Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way.
Left wing. Right wing. 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 Left wing. Right wing.
Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Same bird.
Polly. Polly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick. Tick. Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic. Politic. Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politic. Politician. Politic. Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. 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 Don't let them drain you all the way.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. days, man.
It's a bodega.
Don't get me started.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on. People's zoo.